We're live. Alrighty. Let's get this show started here at 6:30, April 14th. We have a quorum called in order. Start with Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Alrighty, we amendments to the agenda. I amend that we move the review of the audit to the start of the meeting, so ahead of the old business discussion. We keep the rest of new business in its place. Second from Josh. Any questions or discussions? All right, seeing none, all in favor? Any opposition? Seeing none, that is going to be moved. Any public comment? Yes. Yep. Name and street.
Donna Church, Old Brunswick Road. I want to correct the record regarding the comments that were made at a prior public meeting. The chair of the select board stated that the budget committee was holding illegal public meetings in the parking lot. The town manager responded, so they always are. There was no budget committee meeting taking place, no discussion of the budget, no meeting had been scheduled as such. And such characterizing the situation as an illegal meeting is incorrect. Accuracy matters when describing public business, and I believe it's important that the public has clear understanding of what did and did not occur. It is unacceptable to publicly accuse the budget committee of holding an illegal meeting when no meeting occurred. Making false statements like this undermines public trust and shows lack of respect for the committee and the facts. So let's be clear, there was no meeting in that parking lot, illegal or otherwise. Spreading false accusations at a public meeting is not leadership. It's reckless and unfair to the volunteers who follow the rules.
Just a point to clarify, if 4 of you gather unannounced, that is considered a legal meeting, just to match the facts. So it's the same if 3 of us gather in any capacity outside of our scheduled meeting. Those are considered illegal meetings, and that was the point. Because when I walked out and 5 people were talking about the budget, that is what constitutes an illegal meeting. And so that's what
I
made.
think there was 5 people out there talking.
There was, yeah, but that's why I just made the comment. And so more of a point of
couple of us were leaving and we were talking to
more of a
somebody
point of
else about a surgery.
it's more of a
coming
point of
up.
information for you all. If a committee gathers without notification and over 50% or more are present, that's what makes it an illegal gathering. And so that's the point. So that's why we have to be very careful, even us, as being seen at the same public functions at the same time and things like that. And so
you're
that's
not allowed to go outside and speak to one another and say, hi, how are you? Where do you live? Where are you from?
That's the challenge, because in some, like in previous municipalities that the town managers worked in, they actually had committee members leave at separate times to
And you didn't even
present
accuse
that.
us of maybe we were having a meeting.
So
or
if 4
they might have been. Or
if
they might be
4 or
doing it.
more of you
You
gather,
said we
it
were.
is a meeting. That's the definition of it. So if 4 or more gather, that's
Yeah,
what it
even
makes.
though we were not discussing.
Yes, because you're all elected officials. So if you convene, it can be considered a controlling portion of the body convening. And that's just a point of information there. So we're at the same mercy of that. That's why 3 of us couldn't go get lunch together, even if we were talking about
I
friends.
wish you would state that a little differently.
That's in the main
And you could
municipal,
state that a
that's in the
little
MMA guidance, and it's been in all the training for elected officials that you've all have had to make yourself aware of over the years. So thank you for your comments, though.
Okay.
Any other public comment? Okay, feeling free to come on up. We're going to start with you on our review of the previous audit, starting the 2024 audit. So
Okay, well, thanks for having me.
no problem.
Do you have a copy of the set of graphs that we put together?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm just going to go through those graphs, and if you have any questions or comments, feel free to jump in at any point.
Mm-hmm.
If you go to the second graph, we have an overview of the audit results. Excuse me. For the timing of the audit was actually performed the week of February 10th, 2025. And then the reports were actually dated and issued March 2nd, 2026, so a little over a year after we started the audit itself.
Mm-hmm.
Some of that, if you remember, for those of you who were here last year for the presentation for me, the prior audit didn't go out until August, I believe it was. So that tends to have an effect on the next audit. The prior audit goes out late, so there's kind of a rolling effect. As for the results of the audit, the financial statements did receive an unmodified opinion, which is a clean opinion on the financial statements. And then, as part of the audit, we also did some testing for.
No, wrong question. You got a
I know
question?
it's not a question, but we have to use this little box over here. Could I ask you to speak up a little bit?
Sure, I will try.
I could bring it over if that helps.
We'll just move it a little closer.
Okay. Besides the financial statement testing, we also did some additional testing of internal controls. And under the testing that we did, there were no material weaknesses, which would be your highest level of finding. The next step down from that would be a significant efficiency, which would be something that's not necessarily systemic, but still serious enough to bring to your attention. There were also no significant deficiencies. We had one minor management letter recommendation, so overall, pretty clean audit.
Do you have a question?
Yeah, so, sorry, because you said the second graph. Did you mean the one of general fund expenditure distribution? Because that's the second graph.
Nope,
In the document.
so the first graph says financial overview, and then the second graph says summary of audit results.
This one.
Page 2.
Oh, so not the graph. Okay, sorry.
Not a graph.
Sorry.
The second page of the
Page.
presentation.
Sorry. Thank you for clarifying. I
Nope,
heard
that's
graph.
okay.
Thank you.
Sure. The next few graphs themselves are just an overview of the financial information, from the financial statements themselves. So if you go to the third page, there's an overview of fund balances. These are the general funds, special revenue funds, and capital project funds. So you can see over the last 3 fiscal years, the general fund balance has decreased significantly. In 2024, it actually decreased $419,000. Most of that is because of amounts that were budgeted to be moved to capital and other funds, which was offset slightly by revenues that were higher than budgeted and expenditures that were lower than budgeted. The capital funds tend to fluctuate quite a bit, so you'll see in 2022, they were at 854,000, then they dropped down to 397,000, and then they went back up again to 800,000. A lot of that has to do with the timing of when funds are transferred in for planned use and when they're actually spent. So the fund balance increased by 411,000 this year, primarily due to transfers from the general fund, which was offset by some smaller expenditures. And then special revenue funds, those are amounts that are set aside for specific ongoing purposes. And those amounts increased by 149,000, mostly due to a $160,000 transfer in for revaluations. There's special revenue funds, I will note, they do exclude the amounts that are restricted in purpose, as the town does not have control over the purpose of those funds. Those are primarily amounts that are restricted by external authority, like the state or a granting authority. And then total fund balances also exclude the amounts that are non-spendable or restricted for the cemetery funds, since those can only be used for that specific purpose.
Any questions? Right.
The next couple of graphs highlight the budget to actual information for the general fund. On page 4, we have the general fund revenues budget to actual. So you can see taxes were higher than budgeted due to higher than anticipated excise taxes. State revenue sharing was also higher than budgeted due to the timing of when the state's budget is finalized. Other intergovernmental revenues were lower than budgeted due to tree growth revenues that were lower than anticipated. Charges for services were higher than budgeted due to higher demand for code enforcement and ambulance services. Interest revenue was about $107,000 higher as the town actually had more in its bank balances at the end of this year for 2024 compared to the prior year. So the more cash you have on hand, the more interest you earn. And then, in total, revenues were about $178,000 higher than budgeted, which is a little less than 2%.
Any questions about that, chart? All right,
And then on page 5, this is the same analysis, but for expenditures. So again, looking at some of the larger variances, public safety expenditures were under budget as there was less of a need for use of part-time, fire department employees. In addition, costs related to vehicle repairs and maintenance, were lower than expected. Public Works expenditures were $88,000 lower than budgeted as a full-time staff person retired, as well as costs related to paving, road work, salt and chemical costs were all lower than anticipated. Solid waste disposal costs were actually over budget by 57,000, and that had to do with the timing of when waste hauling fee invoices were incurred. And unclassified expenditures were under budget. And that had to do with the fact that they were only used for $9,000 in abatements. So in total, expenditures were about $70,000 below budget, which is 0.6% of the budget. So the expenditures came in really close to the expenditure budget.
is that and maybe you don't have the answer to this question, but in your experience with fully functioning municipalities like our own, is 0.26% within budgeted expenditures common, or is that really tight? Or
That's on the tight side of things.
yeah, okay.
It wouldn't take much for you to exceed your budget. One unanticipated expenditure could easily make you overspend.
Okay.
Is there a percentage along those lines that, we should be at? I mean,
I don't think that there's necessarily a standard percentage. It's more what you're comfortable with and what you anticipate is going to happen, but I'd at least like to see it 1%, 2% at least, maybe. So you have a little bit of wiggle room.
and then,
Yeah.
you said the solid waste, well, the 57,000 was because of the timing.
Mhm.
Does that mean it'll be less in the 2025 budget because what we were anticipating in 2025 was paid in 2024?
I have not seen your 2025 numbers, so I can't say for sure. It depends on a couple of different things, whether your fees are actually increased and then how much usable services.
Mhm.
So, Jerry, do you want
I guess I'm just trying to, is it,
all?
when you say timing, is it the timing when we received the bill? I guess I just want to make
That
sure.
happened?
Yeah,
No,
pretty
Mark?
much.
No, it's not based off of the time when the bill is received, it's based off the time of when the services were rendered.
Right.
We
Okay.
could have received the bill in whatever, December, or we could have received it in February, it doesn't really matter. It's all
Mhm.
coded into FY 24, if it occurred in FY 24.
But even if paid in 25, it's still rendered to paper.
Yes.
Any other questions on expenditures? What I'm saying is that our revenue was more than budgeted for and our expenditures were under than what's budgeted for.
Yeah.
But pretty tight on that expenditure line, so.
Yes. So if you hadn't had those transfers out to the other funds, your general fund balance would have actually increased.
Mhm.
So because you had those planned transfers out, it did actually decrease.
Alrighty.
The next two graphs are just an overview of the expenditures with a pie chart. So each of the categories is shown as a piece of the pie. You can see most of these categories stay relatively the same. The only ones that really fluctuated were education, which increased by 1%. Public safety, which increased by 1%, and then debt service actually decreased by 2%. All of the other categories pretty much stayed the same, which you would expect. They tend to be fairly consistent from year to year.
Any questions there? Alrighty,
The last graph that I have on page 8, these are your committed fund balances. So these are amounts that the voters have agreed to set aside in specific funds for specific purposes, either in special revenue funds or in capital project funds. So under the special revenue funds, you have the emergency fund, grant match, recreation, telecommunication, and revaluation. In total, those went from 207,000 to approximately $361,000. Most of that, again, was because of the $160,000 transfer in for revaluations. And then the capital project funds started out at about $397,000, and they increased to a little over $800,000. Again, mostly because of the transfers in from the general fund. You can see a lot of these balances increased, but there were no offsetting expenditures due to the timing of those expenditures.
Mhm.
And that is it for what I have for graphs. Does anyone have any questions about the numbers or any other aspects of the audit?
any questions?
There was a comment about, I think it was Public Works and payroll. Is that a big deal? Is that just?
No, so that was the other minor recommendation that I mentioned. It's actually a repeat comment, similar to what we've had in the past. In that, we looked at some of the documentation for payroll, specifically for pay raises, and there were a couple of employees, that had received pay raises. That the raises weren't documented as far as approval. It's not that they weren't approved, it's just, when you went to the personnel file, there was nothing there for documentation, for the, actual raises. So our comment was just to, basically make sure that the town is going through the personnel files and making sure that all of those raises are documented as approved.
And I'll note that, this is for the term of time that this is for, the 2024. We've hired a human resources consultant
Oh.
to manage our human resources to help find any sort of those things. So even though it's minor, this does not reflect the time frame in which that human resource consultant has now been working with us. So, we hired them based off of the previous year's audit and discussions around that as well. So,
Good.
all right. Well, I don't have any other questions. If anyone else has questions.
Just so overall, as an auditor, you believe we're healthy in our practices, our financial practices and what you found here?
Yeah, I mean, I would say so. We didn't see anything significant. If we had seen any practices that were concerning, we would have certainly brought them to your attention. And our management letter would have been a little more robust as far as our recommendations. But yeah, overall, yeah, your practices are sound.
Yeah.
So.
Great, thank you.
Perfect.
You're welcome.
All righty. Well, seeing any other questions, no other questions. Thank you, Jennifer, for coming in. Really appreciate your presentation tonight and answering the questions that we did have.
Thank you.
Next, I need a motion to approve our last meeting minutes.
So moved.
John, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Deb, any questions or discussion? All in favor? Any opposition? Seeing none, that passes. Alrighty, that brings us to old business. So this is our final meeting where we finalize our budget and also answer questions from the chair and vice chair of the budget committee. They had provided their questions, some of their questions in writing ahead of time, and we also had staff provide a written response there. But I wanted to essentially the hope here, and I'm open to any sort of input from the rest of the board, have the chair and vice chair of the budget committee come up, share the questions that they have with us. We can take those into consideration, answer any questions they might have. thank them for that, and then we will dive in on the finalization of our budget after we receive those questions, taking their questions in mind as we are making our final edits. Then all of this will be buttoned up. We'll have a final budget. We'll send along to the budget committee as well as some supporting documentations. They've asked for a couple of reports and things of that nature that we're gonna send along as well as a copy of this questionnaire. Does that work for everyone?
Is this question, those are on the website, I thought I read?
Yeah, they're going on
Okay.
all of this. Once we're done with this tonight, the select board has now presented its budget. And all of that is then presented as that packet that's gonna be available for everybody.
So we don't have to go over these questions, we can do different ones.
I
guess,
wanna
I
give,
mean-
I wanna give the chair and the vice chair of the budget committee the opportunity to ask us any questions that they have, before we go through the rest of our finalization process. So, does that work?
Yeah, I was just looking for new questions.
Yeah, no, if they had new questions, we didn't, this isn't necessarily an all encompassing list. It was just, hey, if we can get some of your questions ahead of time, we can have them ready to be addressed ahead of time rather than on the fly and save everyone time and effort. So, Milton Chilton, do you all want to come up to the chair?
So I guess I have one clarification question. I thought we would be able to ask questions as they arrive this evening. I didn't realize we were limited to thinking of all of them ahead of time.
No, we said we were gonna invite you all in to ask questions, facts and figures questions about the budget.
Right.
Yeah, and so this is the opportunity to do that.
Perfect. We thought we'd be able to ask as a group as
So
things are being discussed and coming to light this evening.
Mm.
I didn't think it
the
was.
budget
based
is,
on-
the budget that we have in front of us is all of it to light. So all we're doing after we get your questions is if that raises an issue for us, we're considering your question as we now go through and finalize our budget section by section. Because we've already gone through and asked our questions line by line. We've done that for a couple meetings. And then this meeting, we're just going through and voting to approve or adjust anything. And so it's not really a, hey, what's going on here? What's going on here? Because we've already covered that for us. So this is the opportunities. I know you all watched our meetings. And like I remember you and Milt were saying, sometimes we hear questions that you've asked. It makes us think of questions. We're hoping questions we think of, you all think of, make us think of questions. So this is the chance to ask any sort of questions you might have. And then keep in mind, we're going to send it all to you all. I know you will have some meetings scheduled, and then we'll have you come back in with your recommendations on the 28th of this month, where we can determine whether we need to change to meet you all, or if we bring two separate numbers or whatever. So there's still an opportunity to discuss again on the 28th.
Okay.
So,
So I guess one question that I have, because I didn't get the email until this afternoon, has the select board read the questions that we had?
I did.
yeah,
Yeah, the questions,
questions that
not
we
the
answered.
answers.
That were answered.
yeah,
Not the answers, did you say? Or?
I haven't gotten, the answers we just got.
yeah, we
Oh,
just,
yeah.
yeah, and I just sent them along to them and you all this afternoon when I got them in this format. So,
So my question, Joe, I don't know if I heard you correctly, did you say that the questions and answers were going to be part of the package that goes on the website?
Yeah.
So we don't need to ask the questions tonight to have them documented?
yeah, no, but if this doesn't answer your question, we can elaborate tonight too.
Okay.
Or if you've thought of new questions since then, because it's not like we're saying, hey, you get to ask 9 questions and then we're not talking to you all, but we just appreciate giving some of these in advance.
I'm sorry, just trying to save time down the
Mhm.
road, so if, maybe even a town meeting, so if all of you and the budget committee and the town as a whole can see the questions that were asked and
Yeah.
can read the answers that were given.
Yeah.
It's as good as, watching it on video.
Yeah, and that's our goal, is just make it all transparent and live right there, so.
Yeah.
But did you have any elaboration you needed on the questions submitted?
I did have one clarification question. I'm just trying to figure out what question it was. For the road repair, so I guess more to.
Sorry, which
answer-
question number is that?
I
Sorry.
guess it's 6.
Okay.
Is the lower amount for road repair due to CMP going to contribute payment for the repair and paving of Stack Pole? And the answer was no. So there is no bond or agreement with CMP to help repair the damage to Stackpole.
No, and Calvin, do you have any insight, or Jerry, do you have any insight you
We're
could shed
working
on?
that out with CMP right now, right, Calvin?
We're still negotiating.
Yeah, they're playing hardball.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah, it's after
basically,
the fact, so it doesn't surprise
Yeah.
me.
Well,
Yeah.
we still hold the bond on them.
Yeah,
it's very hard to prove, it's very hard to prove that damage was caused unless the truck was actually through the pavement in a certain
Mhm.
spot. It's very difficult to.
And it's always after the fact.
There's no
Yeah.
way to, there's no like documentation as to what shape the road was in prior to that 2-year project I mean, the road is now damaged and it's not frosty, the road is broken.
Mhm.
And I mean, what else would have caused the road that was fairly new, it's renovation, if you wanna call it that, wasn't that long ago. So what would cause a road to deteriorate like that if not for, heavy trucks every 10 minutes from 7 in the morning to 6 at night driving it for 2 years?
That's the discussion we're having with them, and we will continue to have those, and hopefully if we get money from that, and that would be great. But that ultimately may end up being for lawyers to figure out.
yeah, and,
But
and,
it's more than that. It's got a crappy base.
yeah,
Well,
So-
I think the money that went into it was 10 years ago, and that was just a shim and overlay. It was
Right,
just a
on a
maintenance.
crappy base.
yeah, cause the other half is in pretty good condition
Right.
still, right?
Yeah, I mean, it was due for a shim and overlay, but it'll take some more asphalt now than it would have. But
Mhm.
it's,
Well, that answers that question.
Yeah.
My question was, my recollection was, it had been bonded, there was an agreement with CMP that that project had caused damage to the road, that, they were gonna cover
Yeah.
that and.
My understanding is that with CMP, it's, if there's damage, we'll cover it, and then at the end, you say, all right, here's what we think's damage. They say, oh, no, we think it was this, and there's a negotiation, but we can't budget now for a number saying, oh, CMP, we think we can get 50 grand from CMP, and so we can bank on that. We have to budget for what it costs us to do it, and then if we get those additional funds, that can go towards it at that point, and then we can transfer out and back the way we normally do, right?
Well, you'd have to have a warrant article that allows for, receipts from CMP to be used for that purpose, which you could do it at either.
But in
at
terms,
town meeting, or you could do it as special.
in terms of budgeting, we can't budget for an anticipated amount, but we can still work to try to get the best amount out of it, yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted.
I don't know if you have any experience negotiating with CMP, they're not kind in that regard, so. And when it comes to having a,
Money on the table.
you know.
that We haven't heard any discussion about
Mhm.
it, but I'm pleased that both Jerry and Calvin are on top of this.
We're on top of it, and CMP has lawyers that they can use, and we do too, so we might wanna be careful about how much we cut the legal line.
yeah,
Just
That's a good
Yeah,
point.
that's a good point.
Yeah.
Mark, you said something about if we receive it and going to the town meeting, I missed.
So, any proceeds that you receive are the townspeople's money, and you can't appropriate it for anything without their approval. So even if CMP gives you money for roads, you can't actually expend it until you get an approval to expend it.
Could you put it in the general fund?
It's by default, it goes into the general fund. I
But you still-
recommend to some clients, if they have reserves like you guys have to have a standing warrant article that says proceeds from the sale of general capital assets shall go into the, public works reserve or something like that.
so that
It's just a
answer,
warrant article that you need.
Yeah,
Yeah.
is it something we should do?
well, we won't know it until after it gets negotiated, so we won't know that.
He's saying
Before.
have it just in case.
Oh, just have a blanket.
Yeah, you could have a standing warrant article that's generic that says proceeds from whatever.
Mhm.
If received.
Right, if received.
Yeah, we can
I
talk
think that's a
about,
good
so
idea.
we can talk about that
Yeah.
not next meeting, but the meeting after we work on warrants.
No, but
So,
Yeah.
yeah, we could bring that up at the meeting when we comes times to set warrant language, just to prepare that, yeah.
I thought we had something, I mean, not specific to CMP, but I thought we had something.
maybe we do. I don't.
Well, we'll just make sure we dot our i's and cross our t's there, so.
Tell them to do it. Wouldn't surprise me if you guys didn't have it.
I
You do for
think,
like grant money, I think.
I
Yeah,
thought there was something.
I thought there was
I-
grants or donations. There
Yeah,
was,
no,
but I don't know where, if this
Yeah.
doesn't
no, no.
fall into that, yeah.
But we should have that every year.
Yeah, or we can ask for it. Depends on what the town wants to give us, right? Did you have any other clarifications you wanted on some of the questions? And keep in mind, like I said, you all are coming back in at the end of the month too. And so if you see our deliberations tonight and we make changes or whatever, we're bringing you back in. And even though at that point you're presenting to us your budget, I'm going to open the floor. Say if you have questions as to why we're still where we're at, we can answer that too. So.
It's a follow-up question. Question number 4, we had asked if unemployment was a new budget line. And the answer was yes, it is new for 2027. I'm curious what have we been doing previously?
My understanding is we've been hoping that we haven't had to pay unemployment.
Right,
That's correct.
Yeah, and so if someone
Taking
if
the
someone
risk.
left and claimed unemployment and we had to pay to fin their unemployment and pay to backfill them, that wasn't budgeted for.
That's correct.
So how did we pay it?
We
We
just pay it within the departmental expenditures like anything else.
yeah,
But it's not very transparent because it's an
Right.
unemployment line, but we don't have a line to pay that out of.
yeah.
And you haven't had a lot of unemployment expenditures anyway, in the past. It's just I don't even know who the
Yeah.
claimant was.
It
But,
went all the way back to 2021.
oh, did it? Yeah,
So they've been holding on that. It's small amounts, but it was accruing interest.
yeah.
So I think the total cost of all of it was like $768 or something.
Yeah, and that's just
Like
that's a risk that we're exposed to that hasn't been covered in the past. Because not only do we have employees, but we have part-time staff, and if they were to go on unemployment too, they can make a claim.
So the town chooses to be what they call direct reimbursement. So we don't pay it through insurance or anything. So we
Mhm.
just pay it when it happens. We
Mhm.
don't know when it's gonna happen. And you can pay it even if a volunteer fire department person has another job and they lose it. Because they get paid here, we pay a percentage of that unemployment.
Mhm.
So it's, you never know when you're gonna get hit. So it's just
And-
better to have it and be able to use it. And it's one of those,
Did
it's better to have it and use it than not have it
Yeah.
and need it, right? So,
did Betsy was our HR consultant involved with pointing this out?
no.
No, I couldn't.
No, it was when the bill came in and Mark had to create a whole new code to be able to
Mhm.
pay it. It's like, well, and what's it like a full-time unemployment claim that someone gets?
So the max is 15,000 something that I put in the email.
Right.
So that's getting full benefits for 26 weeks,
Mhm.
which, yeah.
It's
Un-
probably unlikely to have
Yeah,
it.
I mean, because if a lot of people are leaving, getting another
Well,
job or
you have to be
whatever,
looking for a job.
Yeah.
You can't just be, I'm taking 26 weeks off.
but that just was a risk we were exposed to.
And it's just a line to pay in case we have it.
Mhm.
It's $3,000. You can take it out if you want. Ain't gonna change the tax levy.
Mhm.
Ain't gonna touch the tax levy,
Mhm.
but it's insurance.
Okay. Good question, though, Mill.
Yeah.
Did that
it's a good
answer your
topic.
question? Yeah.
I'm good. I think, the fact that we have the April 28th meeting, I think that's gonna be more productive. We just, this gives us now some things to talk about. We can't speak on behalf of the
Yeah, I
6 other
understand.
people. So they may have some questions after they get a chance to read the answers, but this saves us time instead of
Mhm.
having to hold on to these questions till the 28th and now have a bunch of questions answered. And I'm expecting we'll have more for the 28th, but I think this saves a lot of time.
Well, and it's also helpful for us to see them when we're all thinking about this. I spend hours a day thinking about our budget and adding these questions in. It's like, I'm not under the illusion that I think of everything. So having other people asking questions is really helpful.
Yeah, these are very insightful
Yeah.
questions. Thanks.
So, did we all have any questions for them? Perfect.
Thank God.
Yeah, not yet, so. Thank you both for coming in. I mean, obviously, you're welcome to stay. We're gonna go through our budget tonight, and then, we will, whatever adjustments or whatever happen tonight, we'll need to rectify those. And then tomorrow or Thursday, we'll make sure that this all gets to you, plus the couple of other reports you had requested about like call volume, and I can't remember what
Are
the
we
other.
on target to get all the budget docs on Thursday?
This
Yeah.
Thursday?
Yeah,
16th, yeah.
this
Now, are we getting
Thursday.
a notebook like we have in the past that has all the?
Yeah, well, yeah, you can, I'll get it electronically if you like. However you want it, we'll give it to you however you want. But I didn't think it was this Thursday. You might
Yeah.
wanna look at the
That's
schedule.
the
It
16th,
says the 16th.
Yeah,
end of
Hold on.
day 16, because we have
Yeah.
a meeting on the 20th.
Of
to
April,
start
okay.
discussing, so we have to.
As long as, yeah, I'll give you whatever they give me tonight.
Okay.
yeah, that's this, cause your next meeting's on the 20th, so, and we put the 16th being the
Yeah.
last work
Yeah.
day of
In
the
the
week.
past, typically we were notified like by early afternoon, so if people wanted to pick up a printed copy,
Mhm.
they had until end of day, at least Thursday end of day or kind
Yeah.
of Monday.
I'll put something together for you.
Yeah, and we're gonna also send over the Excel sheet and all that sort of stuff, so I think you've all delineated the requests. And so if there's something missing that you think you asked for, or that you did ask for, and I must, we missed, just shoot me an email back and we'll get you something right away. In worst case scenario, if something is missed and you don't realize it till Friday, and I don't already have access to it, we can get it made available first thing Monday, and so it will be ready for your meeting
Yeah.
Monday. So,
And does everybody on the budget committee want a hard copy notebook?
I can't say that. If you want, I can try to get an answer for you by Thursday.
I just hate to put like 8
Oh,
or
sure,
9
I
together
agree.
on the 3
I'll,
committed, but-
I'll send out an email tonight, and if someone doesn't answer, they don't get one. If they answer, they want one, I'll give you a number on Thursday.
Perfect.
Okay.
Yeah.
speak
As
now
long
or
as
keep.
everyone gets your email.
What's that?
As long as everyone gets your email, because
Well,
I
the
don't know
way
if
I'm
that
doing it
fixed.
is I'm sending
No.
individual emails.
So that's the
Oh,
other
it's not
thing.
working.
Thank you, Jill. The budget committee email, the group email, there's something broken there. And Devin had said that the IT is working on a fix. And so we didn't realize it either. And it was weird because I've responded to other emails that I've responded to budget committee on. And it was just today when I responded email, I got a cannot deliver message back. So that's the first time I've gotten one.
I
Two.
got, I saw a test email, late last night from.
Or it was yesterday maybe, yeah, that I had an issue.
Which it said, test email, do not, just disregard or something. It came from the company that you have your
Mhm.
service with, but I don't know what that was about.
I think it has something to do with Gmail.
Mhm.
That's my thinking.
Yeah, Devin said that essentially when an email goes to selectboard.gov, it sends it automatically to each one of us. And so when it goes to the budget committee, it's supposed to send it automatically to each one of those emails that are considered like the parent email. But Gmail has something that says it doesn't allow mail forwarding, and so the IT folks have to do a workaround to make it work. And when we moved away from town emails, they did that workaround for like planning board, and somehow the budget committee workaround, it didn't happen, and it's probably just now getting noticed because the email traffic to that is so infrequent until budget season. And so my understanding is that it's being worked on by IT.
It could be a
Right
way,
now.
because like me personally, I've set up group emails for both the budget committee and solid waste. And
Mhm.
so when I click on my heading, let's say, solid waste committee, the 7 or 8 names just show up.
Yeah, but so
That's Gmail.
that's different than having a parent address forward to, for lack of better words, children addresses, and that's what we're trying to figure out right now. So
And so I'll have an email to you, Jerry, one way or another on
Okay.
Thursday.
Well, hopefully before Thursday.
Thursday morning?
Tomorrow?
I gotta give them, like, me at least a date to reply. This is just to let us know if they need a printed copy or not.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, if you
We'll
need
find
help,
time.
if you need
We'll-
help
we'll find-
to
put 'em together.
collate that, I'll be happy to come in and
Yeah, we'll work it out.
help you.
Don't-
now watch out for those paper cuts.
We'll make it work.
All right, thank you.
Awesome. Well, thank you all for these questions. They were very helpful, and they will be part of the greater forward-facing information. Alrighty. Where are we at here? All right, budget committee review. Might as well just bring the department heads up here in case there's questions for them. Just sit with Mark and Jerry while we're here. So I wanted to get everyone's opinion how to best go through this. So we have our budget as presented, and at this point we need to make a motion to accept the budget or adjust the budget and then accept it with adjustments. So my thought process is we can go section by section and just say, here on funding sources, page 6, does anyone have any adjustments they want to propose on that? If the answer is no, we'll move along. If the answer is yeah, I'd like to talk about this, briefly state your concern and then make a motion. And then if there's a second, we'll have a discussion, make a vote. And then if we are changing anything, then we'll vote to say, motion to change 01-00-6320 from 12,000 to 11,000 or whatever. If there's no change to the page, we'll just keep going. So we're only going to vote on amendments and to the budget. And then after it's been amended, we will have one vote to say adopt the budget as amended. Does that work for everyone on the board?
Think so.
So in the past, some people have been like, I want to vote to adopt people have said, let's vote to adopt each section or have a motion to adopt each page. Or instead, if there's no changes to this, we're just going to go past it and then only vote to make changes on individual lines if we have a change to make. And then we'll track all that and then vote to adopt the whole budget as amended.
Yeah, I think it makes sense to me. I'm I don't know if anybody else has an issue.
Does that work for you, Josh?
Are you talking about making a motion to talk about making a change?
No.
Like per section.
No. So I'm saying, like, if we were to say, if we're going through the first section and I said, I think we need to make an adjustment to motor vehicle excise tax, I would like to make a motion that we decrease it from 1.2 million to 1 million.
Right, rather than.
And then, is there a second?
Together. Yeah.
Yes,
Oh,
Josh
so you
seconds
want
it?
the motion before we discuss it?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
That's typically how it works.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Does that work?
Yeah.
Because what I've noticed is, especially in the past, in guilty party right here, I can have a whole discussion about something before there's even a motion, and then we end up with a motion or with not a motion, and it's like, okay, well, we just had a full discussion on what might be the motion, and now that it's the motion, do we rehash the exact discussion we just had? So I'm just trying to help us streamline ourselves and understanding that the guilty party looks at me in the mirror on this one quite frequently. So
I think it's all of it, but that was my question.
yeah. Josh's question is, how do we get Joe to talk less?
Yeah.
Alvin laughed pretty hard at that one. Come on, man. Alrighty. So this does have an update. John, thank you today. John caught the change in the school budget that we have inserted into the budget here. The school, so the school had its target budget to increase, and then they have to go through this whole calculation as to what Durham owes. And we get like 44% of what we owe covered by the state, and then we have to make that final contribution. So those numbers were added into this packet today with that update. So this is showing everything. And one thing I really like about this is we added those in today. If we were still using our old system, we'd be dealing with that change after the fact. So this is going to show this calendar year is paying for itself right here already.
If that budget sticks with the school, they haven't voted on that yet.
Yeah.
But it's better.
They've
adopted it, so.
The town, the voters haven't voted on it, but the school board has adopted it at this point. So I believe that's what's going to the voters. So barring any, disapproval from the school district voters, that's what it's going to be. So that's my understanding of it all.
Let's see, what's the password?
What's the telephone number? 207-353-3473, that's it. I'm telling you. That's it.
Alrighty, so starting off on page 1, this is our overview. This is just telling us where everything's coming from. As we can see, the school townwide, the school and the other townwide have increased to 9,745,518. That's the big change here, and we'll just start going through page 2.
Can we point out that the new mill rate, if this is approved, is $25.39, which is a 13.4% increase.
Yeah, it as presented right here. Yep. And and that's with the use of a $500,000 fund balance. And so right off the bat, 'cause I know we're gonna get to this, Mark, is that $500,000 fund balance the maximum allowable use you would recommend at this point?
It's more than what I would recommend.
Okay.
I wouldn't recommend really more than 300,000. Cause you're really gonna, you're gonna run the risk of having a significant tax spike next year, or if not next year, the following year. Because you're already projected to be, as I responded in the email, one of the questions. You're already within the
Sweet spot.
right? You're on the high end of your recommended area. If you want to get to the midpoint, that would be $400,000 budgeted use. That's assuming that you actually use it. Most times you don't use the full amount. So for example, you're not going to use the full 740,000 over the course of this last 18 months. So you could budget, 300, 400,000. You start budgeting 500,000 or more. And you're really running the risk, because if you use it, you're going to be on the low end of the range or below it. One of the reasons why is also because Jerry's gone through and really tried to tighten up the budgeted revenues. So, as you noticed in the discussion earlier, the expenditure budgets have been generally pretty tight. And the excess has come from revenues being budgeted kind of liberally or conservatively, I guess you could say. So one of the things Jerry had gone through and done this year was trying to get a little bit better numbers for the revenue sources.
Yeah, and that just brings me to the point, and that was one of the questions that the budget committee submitted.
Yeah.
The fund balance. So once the fund balance was discovered, the whole point was to slowly start spending down that fund balance until we get to this sweet spot where we can manage cash flow, but we're not sitting on a bunch of money that's not designated towards anything. And the thought process there being, if we have $2 million taxpayer dollars that we're not doing anything with, asking people to now give us a bunch of tax revenue when we're sitting on 2 million of their own dollars and not doing anything with it isn't really how you manage a municipality. And so those funds have been spent down, largely what's been helping allow us to do long-term capital planning. And so this is likely the last year we have expenditures out of the fund balance, because this brings us down into that sweet spot of, moving forward, unless something were to unexpected revenue windfall were to come through, that's not getting replenished.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
And I just real quick, did that answered it for you two, right? The written response and that? Okay, just wanted to make sure. Alrighty, so yeah, with the increase in the school and the county, or the increase in the school coming through, the adjustments here are bringing it up to a mill rate increase of around 13.4% with the use of 500,000 out of the fund balance. And that also includes that's mitigated to some degree by a 15% increase in our funding sources, correct? To some degree. I mean, I wouldn't call it mitigated if it's still at 13%, but either way. Largely, you'll see we have an increase in permits and fees, and then charges for services. So one thing we've heard a lot from people from the municipality is addressing revenue. We can really only address revenue through charges for service, permits and fees, and then taxes. Those are the things that we really control. We don't control revenue sharing and stuff like that. So you'll see that reflected in the increases there. All right. Any questions so far? Moving on, page 2, really just the summary here. Any questions on this page?
A general question, I guess, about wages and benefits. Have we started paying our employees based upon the wage scale table?
No.
No, we have not. Okay.
No, that would start after the town meeting. Correct?
Yeah. Pretty much.
Alrighty. And let's move right into the next page. So Category of total expenditures. So, we're seeing here wages and benefits are 13.9% of our total budget. Fixed costs, education, debt, county, set contracts, utilities and fees are now at 77.7% of our budget, and variable and discretionary costs are at 8.5%. Just a quick question for you, Mark, working with other municipalities. Do you, at 13.9% of our expenses being wages and benefits, does that sit at the higher end or the lower end of what you see with municipalities usually?
Really can't say.
Yeah.
Different municipalities are different, right?
Yeah.
Because you guys have a relatively small staff and
Mhm.
you have different services. You have no police department, you have no rec department. So you have things that other towns would generally have, or some towns your size would have.
Mhm.
And then also when it comes to fire department, is it comparable to what other towns have? Well, some towns have, volunteers that are just, they break out a certain set amount. They say, okay, well, we have this set amount. However many calls you attended, we're gonna give you a prorated portion of that. So it's really hard to compare town to town because there's just so many different factors that.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah, makes sense.
13.9% is generally low, right? Generally, if you think about it.
Yeah, I think the school is something like 75%.
Right.
Because it's a service-based industry, obviously. So
Right, they don't have roads that they have to repair and all that type of thing. So generally, you're gonna see schools are usually in the 60, 70, 80% range. Municipalities will be lower than that. I've seen some municipalities where their wages and benefits are 40%. But it all depends on how many people they have. And what
Yeah,
they're
if you have a
doing
sewer
and what
department,
what
yeah.
services they're doing, right?
Okay, I'm just curious.
Yep.
All right, we can skip over page 4 and 5. Those are really our graphical depictions here. All right, funding sources, page 6. So this is where if there's anything here we want to, I'm just going to go through and just hit the highlights, pretty much the bolded things. If there's anything, when I get to that section, if there's anything you want to motion changing or briefly ask a question about, flag it for me. So right off the bat, excise tax. Our total excise tax budget for FY 2027 is 1.28 million, which is a 12.1 increase. Any questions on excise tax, or does anyone want to make any motions related to excise tax?
No.
Permits and fees, we're budgeting 160,500 in permits and fees, which is up 86.5% from last year's budget. Any questions or discussion or motion on permits and fees? Intergovernmental, we're budgeting 1,001,221, 8.5% increase. Any questions or motions or recommendations on intergovernmental? All right.
I'm sorry, do we just assume that we're only gonna get 54% on homestead exemption? I mean, there's no reason for the state to give us more since we don't have a
No,
reevaluation.
we won't get more until we get a reevaluation, and there's been no legislation that I'm aware of that is doing any broad changes to that. All right, funding sources, page 7.
Just one note, for that homestead exemption and the VET exemption, those are, we put in numbers here, but those final actual budgeted numbers will come when you do the tax commitment, because they're driven by the mill rate that you select as a select board. So we put in a guess here.
Best
but,
guess.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Ultimately, that gets changed as part of the original budget when the taxes are committed.
Right.
A question on the permits and fees section. Does that take into account known new development that is on the books right now?
Permits and fees. Which line are we on? Oh, sorry. Yeah, that
Planning board fees, maybe?
planning board fees, code enforcement fees.
Most of the code enforcement fees are up. And that's based off of what we're seeing right now.
Right, what we're seeing and what we have, what we know near terms ahead of
Well,
us.
not necessarily what we know near term. I'm not aware of any major
There's some
developments.
subdivisions, like we
Right.
just saw, again, there's no exact science here.
Right,
Right.
So we're just sort of like Well, we know we may see a little bit because we got more development coming, but we have no way of knowing. how
And
much.
we had adjusted the permits and fees a little while back.
And you can see for all of FY 26, that 18 month, we budgeted 65,000, but through December, for the first 12 months, which is what that actual year to date shows, you had 108,000.
Yeah,
So that's
right.
why that one was significantly increased.
I think we increased the fees, as I recall.
Yeah,
last
we,
year.
we made some, I think it was 24.
Was that longer?
It was partway through 24. We made adjustment to the fees to be more in line with the rest of the community. And then it happened to time with some development stuff coming through. We have not readjusted those fees since then. And it's something that we can do. We have the authority given to us is to do a periodic review. And so we could pick that back up in the future.
I think there's like 3 developments in the planning board process.
Yeah.
I don't know, but the problem is, do they actually pass? Which
Yeah.
You would
Right,
assume
right.
they would, and the other one is, it's really hard to tell where the housing market's going.
Yeah, that's the other thing too, is I could foresee with building costs increasing and stuff like that, there could be people who slow walk developments and wait for a more opportune market, and we don't want to bank on, 3 subdivisions. So
Thank you.
good questions though. All right, moving to page 7, charges and services, budgeting $287,120. 54.2% increase. Notably, the only thing we had really discussed before was the new user fee for the trash bag system being budgeted at $125,000. I know we already had a discussion about comfort level for that. Any question about total charges or services, or any recommendations or motions?
I do, I guess, have one, and it's tied to bulk trash day, which when we get there, I would make a motion to put it back in. But I would also put in, I figured $15 a truck car times 250, I think it was last year's number. That's about $3,750 in new revenue. I don't know where that would fall in these things, but it's one of those, I think probably ought to get to bulky trash and then come back to the fee. If we're gonna have a bulky trash day, so.
That is later in the,
Yeah, just when we get there,
Yeah.
maybe come back to
It's
the
page
revenue
17.
question.
Yep, page 17. So. Alrighty, other revenue, total other revenue at 160,000. Any recommendations or questions there? And then, any other questions on page 7?
Ambulances, I would ask does it make sense to add additional money to the ambulance?
What number is that? Ambulance fees?
01006470. I'm thinking maybe up to 32,000 more.
Yeah, where'd you get that number?
I just pulled it's based on an assumption that we're going to have increased fees, so it could be 20,000 or 50,000, but I was just thinking that, and I would ask, do we expect more income from ambulances? I mean, I know you guys are pretty busy with ambulances.
What's that?
I was gonna ask a follow-up, and with the increased fees, does that mean there's fewer people actually paying? Does that make sense?
Yes. So recently you allowed, as only you can do, an increase in the fee scale for the ambulance. A lot of that went up 20% across the board. The mileage didn't, but the cost. However, to your question and answer, that doesn't automatically say 20% increased revenue. Because Medicare, Medicaid, state aid, which I'm going through the revalidation right now, which is a weekly process, doesn't automatically do a 20% because the state pays what they stay, the federal pays what they pay, that type of stuff. So we're only trying to get those with better health insurance, automobile insurance, that type of stuff, to pay more. Which had been 3 years since you did increase it previous, but it doesn't automatically go to a 20% increase.
And that's not what I think what I did when I was doing this, I looked at it, and 2024 was 118,000.
Yep.
And now we've only gone in 2027, we're up 7,000 increase.
Correct. So that's mostly tied to call volume. Now, in 2 weeks, I will present to you a possibility to help take over Pownell's EMS, but again, that's a contract you need
So-
to read. It's a legal thing.
Chief, this 125,000
Yep.
figure, did you base that off of the new services
Nope,
rate?
nope, I
Okay,
worked
so
strictly
there,
with Mark on what we actually collected, because you don't want to just pie in the sky. You don't want
Yeah.
to pull one out of thin air. We need to be spot on.
Mhm.
Anything more would be a revenue next year increase, but
Mhm.
I mean, I'm sure Mark will tell you, you can add anything, but we don't want to be wrong on revenue projections and be way up.
yeah, because I know
Project more than what's got.
we've traditionally been pretty conservative on our revenue estimates. So, I guess, John, do you want to make a motion on?
I guess I would, I could ask, are you comfortable that it's not gonna be 150 some thousand? I'll make a motion and then we can ask that question, but
So what's the motion?
I'll make a motion that we use 157,000 or 150,000. Let's say 150,000.
Is there a second on the motion?
I'll second it.
Josh, okay. So the motion on the table is to increase line on page 7, 01006470 ambulance fees from $125,000 to $157,000. Any questions or discussion on the motion? So real quick, I know John had a question lined up, and then I'll go to you, Deb, and then Josh, if that works. You had a question lined up.
Not
on-
really, I was gonna ask
Okay.
Chief, but I think I know his answer, but
Deb?
I think the intent here is that bump up accounts for the recent change that we made for the ambulance fees.
Yeah, I understand the
I'm
intent
just
too,
saying
yeah.
that for clarity for
Yeah.
myself, I think.
So essentially, if we had the same volume as last year and we saw a 20% increase in the money that an assumption is if we increase the expense 20%
Mhm.
and we see the same volume and we have that 20% carries over to a 20% additional collection, that would be what we see here in this $157,000. And then additionally, you would have an potentially increased volume of calls, which is a guessing game. John, your number of 32 to go from 125 to 157 of 32 isn't necessarily derived as a 20% increase of 125.
No,
Or sorry, 157.
No,
No,
150.
150.
150, sorry.
round it down.
So 25. So Josh, did you have a question?
Well, first, Mark raised his hand a few minutes ago, so I
Yeah.
wanted to give him, if I could, the floor.
I just wanted to point out that, again, the actual year to date, is actually 12 months worth of data, right? It's from January 1 through December. So we left it, we didn't keep updating it as we would normally as we go
Mhm.
throughout the year because it's actually kind of useful to see 12 months worth of data. So when Chief and I were talking about this figure, I pointed out, well, within the 12 months between January and December, you only generated 113,000, even though in FY 24 you generated 118,000. And so didn't want to go too high, but
Yeah.
you can,
So that 125
Is
is
it really kind of
23,000 more than the actual from January 1 through December
30,
31st last year.
12,000 more.
12,000 more, yeah.
Just for your
Yeah.
information, right?
Are they all the actual to dates are 12 months?
Yeah.
January 1,
Yeah,
December
we left it
31st,
like that,
yeah.
'cause it made it easier to do some comparisons.
It's 12 months, it's 12 months.
Right.
It might be helpful, I think, to sort of table this a little bit, and maybe if we could get at the next meeting.
Well, we're finalizing our budget
Well,
tonight and giving it to the
well,
budget committee.
Yes, but we can still discuss and make changes at our next meeting, but to get the information for John, like what it has looked like since we raised that, but I also think that being this, I'll call it a more conservative number, I think is more appropriate, because I do think that it's helpful with the 12 months. But also, I think with the times we're in, it's raising the prices doesn't mean we're gonna get more. So I think this number is,
But because you made a motion, we have to vote on it, correct?
Yeah, we can,
Yeah.
we vote on the motion, but the motion is what triggers us to be able to have the discussion,
Josh, the data you're looking for would only be, in theory, 2 months of an increase. I'm not sure you can extrapolate a whole year's worth, because then it's slow time of year. It's not the summer months, travel and that type of stuff, so it's really, maybe a poor snapshot of a sixth of it.
Yeah, no,
Okay.
I see, I'm just, the more information
Sure.
to provide for. To me, I think this number is appropriate. Maybe it almost sounds a little high, but,
The 125.
yeah, I don't know. I think being the conservative on these numbers is more appropriate than.
Yeah, 125 is 13,000 more than the 12-month actual from last year. And so that's already an increase. I'm not supportive of another 20% increase on that 125.
I can withdraw. I'm happily just gonna lose anyway. I'll withdraw my motion.
No, we can still vote.
Yeah, yeah. I think with the clarification from Mark, I'm.
But hey, if John wants to withdraw his motion too, that's
Well,
fine.
I mean, I don't think there's three that'll support it, and I'm okay with the logic that folks are
Okay.
using, so.
Perfect.
I guess
Well-
what I am trying to do is, how can we reduce
Mhm.
the budget?
Oh, yeah,
And
understandably.
that's one of the things that we can,
And
that we can look
I
at.
get really nervous about estimating revenues that aren't necessarily, I can't remember the inelastic versus elastic, but when economic times get tough, I think people don't always call for the same things that they might call for. I don't know if Chief, you have some
Yeah.
insight on this, but it's like, that thing I might have called for when I was, working full time, I might not call for when I'm working part time. I'll just drive myself kind of deal. Do you see that fluctuation in call volume when you see, I mean, people are calling for chest pain, people are calling for falling, I can't get up, but
Last year was the first year the fire department saw a decrease since I've been here in 5 or 6 years. I provided that information. A decrease, and the only reason the call volume was decreased 10% is because all our mutual aid all hired. They all went full-time. We didn't do 40 mutual aid calls to fire and EMS.
yeah.
But Durham has been consistent. So the 300 ambulance calls is still 300 ambulance calls.
Yeah.
Durham's a special. It just is because I keep saying aging in place. It's the same population. Sure, it's growing a little and we've seen that, but it's a mature, I think people coming into Deer Creek Crossing mature, some of them are already retired, that type of stuff. So the ailments continue.
I also wonder too, we can bill 20% more, but if economic times are tight, people don't always pay their bills, especially when they're medical bills. So, all right, so we can. John, did you officially
I
withdraw?
will officially withdraw.
Okay, cool.
And can I just say, as the manager of the budget, it makes me really nervous if you're gonna start pulling numbers out of your butt. I'm just gonna say that.
Yeah.
Cause I gotta be responsible for it.
That's
So-
why we have a discussion.
Right.
Yeah. All righty. Any other questions on page 7? Seeing none. All right. Moving on to funding requirements, page 8. So total governmental requirements, 820,685. So real quick, this breaks down. Yeah, so with this, so general government administration, that page breakdown is then put on page.
Yeah, this is just a
So-
summary of the details.
We can skip the summary because we're gonna go by section. And we don't wanna just say, I'm gonna change admin now without going to the lines that have all of admin. Does that work for folks?
Yep.
And so then whatever changes we make, we'll rectify, then that'll be in the summary and we can go as amended. And Mark, keep us in line if we're moving around or whatever in a way that you're not following or it doesn't make sense. So we will skip page 8 and 9, and now we are in the page 10. So, administration, we have a budget of $608,340. Any questions or discussion on any of the administration lines, 7,000 through 799, 999?
I'm waiting to see if anybody else is gonna go. Well, let someone else go first.
No.
I will go back to my junk. The budget increase is too high. I've said that before. And I'll just say, love this town staff, so on and so forth. But the only thing that we can take money out of on this budget that makes any impact, one of the things, is in salaries. And, you know, 12, I forget what they are, I don't have the numbers in front of me. This shows 15% is too high. I mean, that's a 30-some $1,000 increase. And I'd like to see that, the increase, the 15% spread over 2 years. So my thought would be, we give a 7% or 8%, whatever that is this year, another 8% next year if we still think it's necessary. I can't imagine we won't. But that goes to all the wages. So I'm happy to make a motion that says that we cut that 15% to 8%. And I could run the numbers. I don't know, Mark, somebody else could run them better than I can. And I'll do the same on when we get to public works and others.
So the motion is to adjust full-time staff wages to reflect only an 8% increase.
That is my motion, thank you.
Okay, is there a second on the motion?
I'll second.
All right, Josh is seconding. Discussion.
That's that might be, it's not that they don't deserve a lot of money, it's just I don't know that the burden is putting the burden on the town to pay that 15% increase is a lot. And I've recognized that we're maybe getting paid less than other towns and other things, but this is I'm thinking of the taxpayers, and that is a major burden for a 1-year increase.
Any other discussions?
So I've had similar thoughts, and in fact, I actually talked to Jerry about something similar to this. Just because it's been conversations I've had with other people about, how can we lower the rising costs. The concern I have is that I think, we've had the turnover at Public Works. We have, I think, fantastic staff at the town office. I mean, really everywhere, but, I could tell you in my office where we're not getting raises, people are leaving and going where they can make more. They're not as happy doing it, but they're like, wow, I'm leaving money on the table. And I can tell you the effect of my office is right now we're down three people. And I agree that, this is likely, the only place you could cut. But the ramifications for cutting this, to me, is if we lose people, it's gonna cost a lot more than this 15% increase.
Right.
And so I agree with you, and I just the conversation I've had with a couple different people is just, is it worth it? I mean, these people I've been speaking with, they run businesses, they do payroll, they, all that stuff. And I said, would you risk losing people? And they both said no. I was frankly shocked by both of those responses, because, I was along the same lines as you, but to me, I'm just not sure the risk is worth the reward. And if everybody in the town would, promise not to leave and wait, be patient for that, but I don't think we're gonna get that, nor could we ask for that, right? But that's where my head is at, and I don't know. To me, it's a tough. I guess the risk is just not worth the reward, because what I'm hearing is people wanting more, wanting town office open more, and I keep saying, well, that's going to be more people and more, and then if you lose people, there's going to be the possibility that we're not going to be open as much as we are at the town office, or Calvin's already had his issues, where he's come in here to our meetings. We'll just say looking tired. Is that a polite way to say it, Calvin? And Chief has had his issues, although I don't know quite as bad as Calvin's sort of had them, but anyway, I've talked a lot and that's just my 2 cents and that's, I don't know.
Well, an 8% raise to me is not the same as the prosecutor's office, where you haven't had a raise for a while. So it's probably more than double what the inflation rate is. And I realize we're trying to get people back to where it was. But there are a lot of things that the town staff gets in terms of number of holidays and other things that other people don't get.
Like what?
Up to 15 holidays or 14 holidays, whatever we're doing.
That's pretty standard across the public sector.
That's what it is.
I'll tell you what, not where I worked in Indiana. I mean, there was no Patriots Day. There were not a lot
But
of.
that's New England.
Yeah, I mean,
Like,
New England is Patriots
I
Day.
got it, but
Yeah.
there's a lot of holidays. It's an 8% raise. I think we're paying a good chunk of, and I'd like to do more. I think we're paying a good chunk of health, and we just gave some retirement benefits. So.
I don't know if I call COLA a benefit. It's pretty standard too.
But we gave it to them.
Yeah.
And as I recall, only about half the towns gave it. So,
That wasn't
I
correct.
mean, I guess we have a
I
motion.
think it was like
and
75% of the towns cover it.
But I hear you, but we talk about the public sector, and I would think if you went to any of the builders, any of the excavators, they're losing people right and left. People leave for the next dollar or the next 20.
If we want to compare public sector and private sector, we're paying 50% as much.
Okay, well,
So I mean, I understand these feelings, but you
but
need
it's
to
all
bring
about
facts to the table.
But
when
I
we
go
talk
back
about
to
it.
this is all about the staff, which is important. We have not said anything about the people who have to pay the taxes.
Have you talked about the cost of not having employees?
I don't, I haven't seen the rate. Calvin he's had some turnover, but there's just a huge amount of turnover in the business world, private sector and otherwise. And I told you the story of the Buxton Police Department. They gave them a raise, took it to where we want to take people, and they still have had a huge turnover. And it may be an apples to apples. So I mean, I made the motions out there. I think we're asking too much, a 13% increase and a $25 mill rate. We as a select board have to at least recommend doing something or do something.
I think it would be hard for us to mitigate the increase when we have 78% fixed expenses. So we're attacking a nickel when we've got $1 million bill that we can't control. And so that's, I think, a fundamental question is, do we want to make the town staff give up to offset the expenditures at county and school, And that's the tough part. It's like we could completely get rid of the municipal government and just pay the county and just pay the school tax, and it's still gonna be a mill rate increase from last year.
I don't argue that.
Yeah.
But the thing we control is the town rate, and I think we need to try to do something.
Sorry, I just want to, I should have asked this and I thought I knew the answer, but now I want. When we talk about the variation here in the last column.
Yeah.
Is that from the actual year to date from the?
No, it's from the budget. It's from FY 26 budget to FY 27 budget, and that's
so
that you can compare.
So you're talking, if we cut it in half, you're talking about what, maybe a $20,000?
So if you're talking about doing, let's say you were gonna do the same 8% across the board for all people that you could do, right? Like you can't change Jerry's contract, right? Pretty much the only one. So everybody else, if you were gonna do that, that includes all of the public works people, all the fire department people. If you were to just do 8% across the board, you would only have not only, but you would have a savings of about $79,000, which is
that's about
1 second.
less than 1% of.
Yeah,
the
0.8% of a
right,
change.
of the budget. Yeah.
And my question on that is, so to decrease the mill rate by 0.8%, is that worth the risk of causing continuing significant staff turnover, demoralized staff, and a lower participation rate from people applying for our job? And that's the question. And as I understand it, puts us in the hot seat.
And I don't mind being in the hot seat, but we've got to cut something, in my opinion. And we're sitting in, I don't know what else is left other than CIP and the reserves.
I mean, I mean, what I was trying to get to is you were talking about a 0.2056 at 80%, at $80,000. Which is, I mean, is not a huge amount. And it's something, and I get that, but to me, it goes back to the risk reward.
Well, with that logic, why, let's put $150,000 back into paving, because that's only, whatever it is. We've got to, because, and I don't totally accept.
We can
that.
absolutely do that,
Yeah. But I mean, the point is, if it doesn't, if point something percent doesn't matter, let's just start increasing.
Well, I don't
That's
think,
not-
I'm
that's
not
not what-
saying it doesn't matter, but we're saying that the risk to reward here. So if we are in like, we are talking about looking at less than, we're talking, we have 23% of our budget that we're talking about because 77 or 22% because 78% is completely fixed. That's the vast majority of our budget. Then we look at our discretionary and our town workers or whatever. So we can say, yeah, we're gonna buy back 1/8 of a percentage point on the mill rate by keeping our town staff at the bottom 25% pay for municipalities in the region, because those are the facts and the figures. Even with this adjustment, we would not become a median wage town. We're still in every single category, from town manager to department heads to town staff to per diem staff. We are either below 50% or below 25% of the median wage. So even with this adjustment, we're barely remaining competitive. So to get rid of that competitive edge, to save 0.8% on the mill rate, puts us at a huge risk of being unstaffed. And I don't think it's worth that risk for the
Well, I mean,
financial return.
We've been there, and I understand we were short a couple of truck drivers in a very small force. But, I mean, I guess I'll call the vote. I mean,
Well, I just think that if we're gonna build out those logic chains, we have to follow them to their conclusion. Short a couple truck drivers when you have 6. Is that how many truck drivers? That's 5. That's almost 50. You're down almost 50% of your staff for 7 months. And we're down a public works employee right now because the one who started left, because we don't have a competitive wage. And so that's just the challenge here. And I'm not saying that this is an easy decision. I don't want to see a tax increase like this, but when we're barking at 23% of our budget, and we're fixed to the other 77%, there's only so much we can do, So that's my thought process on it.
then I've said
Yeah.
mine, so probably time to vote.
So all in favor of the motion to adjust line 1-20-7015 to reflect only an 8% increase? All in favor? All opposed? Any abstentions? Seeing none, motion fails. All right, we can move down additional lines here. Is there anything else here that people would like to ask questions about or address? Also, if you just have accounting questions, Mark's obviously here. All right, seeing none, we'll move on to page 11. Sorry, I should have said final on that page is $608,340 is the total administration line there. Moving to assessing, our total assessing is $26,800. Is there any questions here on the assessing lines or any recommendations?
I actually did one. Is that assessing services, I assume, is Ms. Hayes's contract?
Yeah.
Is that enough, given that we're going into revaluation? Is she comfortable that?
She added to it from last year.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so yes, okay.
Yeah, because my understanding is that while the assessing company handles the lion's share of the work,
Yeah.
they do have to tap her for more of her time than normal. So
Yeah,
she'll need a corner in the room somewhere with a desk too, probably. So, all right. So assessing's 26,800. Information technology, we're at 77,515. Are there any questions about information technology?
I make a motion, we take the $4,000 out for text messaging service.
All right. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right. Second from Josh. So motion is to remove to zero outline 01267358 and remove text messaging services. Motion by John, second by Josh. Is there any discussion?
I'll go first this
Yep,
time.
you may.
Do we have a contract with them? I'm trying to remember. We signed something, I thought.
We did, it's by the year.
Okay.
It's year to year. Yeah.
Okay.
Is this the same service we've got now?
Yep,
Yeah.
So what are we paying now, I guess?
it's the same, the 4,000.
4,000.
It's just moved from a different line.
So it's not a.
Yeah, we're
it's
accounting
not
for
an
it
increase.
because it was, when we first did it, we were already in a budget, so we put it into the, like the. Right.
Software licenses. Yeah.
So, but now that we have it, we'll
So-
show it what it is.
Yeah,
what it
you'll
costs.
see the software licenses was 40,000.
I'm sorry, within the website, I think.
Sorry, website was 10,000 and website has gone down to 5,000. And that $4,000 has been moved to text message servicing, so it's just making its own line in the
Right.
budget.
Do we know how many people are using that? How many
It was
people?
like, what is it, like 9,000, I think?
900.
900, sorry.
Yeah.
9,000. Yeah, 900.
Yeah.
So that's not an
There's a lot of
increase.
people outside of Durham using it. If we got 9,000.
A potential 4,300 could potentially use it at that
Mhm.
cost.
It's about 22% of the town is using it.
1,500 households could use it.
Yeah.
But hey,
So it's about, well,
Yeah. So, John, you were
I don't
saying
think
about
that's-
the.
I don't think that's the most critical thing. I'll listen to the argument that it's not a lot of money and it's whatever, but I just see that as somewhat unnecessary.
I know that before you were on the board, that was derived from that there was a lot of push about our lack of ways to communicate with people, especially outside of social media and the website. And so this was the option that came forward to get.
And I
some
listened to all of
communication, yeah.
that stuff, but it just, and I appreciate the effort to try to keep people informed, but I've looked at social media very little, and, you know, there's still people that don't really have a clue on what we're doing with bags and everything else. And so I just don't know that it's worth it, to be honest with you. There's always gonna be people who don't know. And with this, we're probably hitting people who do know.
Well, I think, we implement it as part of a safety concern that would, help residents be aware of some safety related issues. And we've used it for other things, of course, but it is concerning that we only have 900 households that are using it.
it's not household, it's people, right?
Oh, it's numbers, right? Just numbers.
Oh,
Yeah.
what's
Can I
that?
make a comment? So we sent out a message yesterday to remind her about the next tax payment, tomorrow.
Yeah.
And I received a call saying that they were thankful for that because their husband or their spouse got the text and they had forgotten. So.
Yeah.
they captured
So
the tax payments.
one successful story.
No, it was more than one. No, multiple.
Yeah, I mean, I think it is a good service. I wish there was a way we could just automatically put everybody in it instead of having people sign up.
Yeah. Are you familiar with open rates with like public communication as what is considered a good open rate or participation rate? Like, are you familiar with that, Rebecca?
Yeah, it's
What-
basically open rate. So you usually expect it's usually like 20%.
So 20% participation is what is standard in the
Yeah, I
industry.
mean, it varies depending on what exactly you're talking about. Like, for instance, out this text messaging service, I don't believe, to your point, John, many people know about it because they don't go onto the website. They only go to All Things Durham. So that's a problem. So it's really about communication. I think if more people knew about it and were told about it, they would sign up. I think it's just
Yeah.
If
I mean,
it's
They
not-
about
tell people
advertising.
in every,
Not-
like in the weekly blast.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but people don't
Not-
get
And
that.
it's been on All Things Durham, and
900 is 22.5% of
So that's pretty
4,000.
good.
but I guess that's
So
not my
if a
point.
qu-
Is
if a-
I think my point is
Well, your
it's-
point was it's not being used much, and a quarter of the
well,
residents.
it's
are using it.
$4,000. We don't necessarily. There are other ways to communicate it. Is my point. So.
What would be the alternative?
Well, we have the website, we have All Things Durham.
All Things
Uh,
Durham is not
It's
a.
not.
Well, for a
us.
period
not
of
an
time,
official.
for a period of time, we didn't have it. We didn't have the text
Right.
services.
Right.
Yeah.
Just like we don't have a digital sign that we think would be a good
Mhm.
idea, but we don't want to take the expense of it.
Yeah.
So.
I just think this is a good idea.
But
No.
also we have to, and I'm so sorry to interrupt you, John,
Go
but we
ahead.
have to just remember about when it was implemented. It's only been about a year and a half, correct? When was it implemented?
Yeah, I can't remember those details. If you ask me, I can look it up and send everything,
Seems-
but I can't.
I just think that that's not very much time for it. That's my personal opinion. But I just think that you usually have to give something like this about 3 years before
Well, we
you.
get about 9 times more participation with that than we do the town meeting. So,
That's
Well, we could save money with no town meeting, we just
Yeah.
have an election.
so I mean, I think the one thing that think that this board has done a really good job of is trying to be increasing transparency, increasing modes of communication. Are the people who are signed up for the text message and the people who sign up for the email and the people who check the website and the people who pay attention gonna find it out? Yes, the people who are always gonna pay attention do. But I think that if we did some evaluation there, we would find that there are some people who utilize certain services and don't utilize other. And in an effort to make sure that everyone is getting communication, because we hear all the time, oh, this is never advertised, no one's ever talking about this. And now we have the ability to say, well, here's the 5 different ways you can get that information. For some people, I mean, I can speak to, my personal family. My dad's only 60, but to ask him to use a smartphone or a computer is not going to happen. But if I signed it up for a text form, he would get the text and he would use it. And so I don't want to remove those people's ability to get information from us. And so I'm not in favor of removing the text service. But I think that I think 22% of the town folks participating is a good number personally. But there's a motion to remove it. So the motion on the table is to remove the text messaging services of 4,000 and bring it down to 0. That has been seconded. Is there any other discussions or questions? All in favor of the motion? All opposed? Motion does not carry 4-1. So that brings up that information technology is $77,515. Moving on to page 12, planning and code enforcement. We have a total budget of $108,030, representing a 16.3% decrease. Any questions on this?
Jerry sent me a small update, I think after he printed those. So what he sent me is $108,510, so it's slightly, and it has to do with the employee, that new employee that you want to budget.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so which line within this?
Within the part-time staff wages.
What would that
So
would go up?
That's now $73,780.
We're only, so we're splitting that, right, with public works.
Yeah, that's 73,780, and then payroll taxes is 5,390. And health insurance is 16,670,
That's the same.
and retirement is 2,107.
So, an extra
Like a couple hundred.
$360 or
Yeah.
no $460.
Yeah. So
So is that the number?
yes, that's the
108,510?
number. Those are the numbers up there. Yeah. I mean, we can change it back.
All right. Any questions or recommendations on total planning and code enforcement?
Is this where we're sharing the?
Yeah, that part-time staff wage is partially carried by planning and codes, and the other part of it is carried by public works because that's the admin assistant who will give part of their time to both departments.
So the public works department will also be changed by $340.
I will make a motion that we, that admin assistant be a part-time person, 28 hours a week. Which would mean we don't have to pay the 33,000. So I guess it's 16,000 here if we're splitting it.
Yeah, I
So
don't have that.
This
Yeah,
would all
but
be
it's
times
close.
2, but
Yeah,
If it was
I think it's 20
unbenefited, yeah.
I think it's 20 something.
For
So
full
the-
insurance is 33,000 and
Oh,
change.
yeah, I'm sorry, the full insurance. Yes, you're right. It's
So-
33,000.
so my motion is that we make that a part-time position, 28 hours a week, which takes it below the requirement for health insurance. it's also 7 hours a day on the 4 days that they're open. And so I don't know what those numbers are. I think it looks like about 38,931 in total savings, so about 19,000.
No, because there's other part-time staff wages in that.
No,
part-time staff
I'm
wages
using
line.
the money for the, going back to the, Jerry summary, which was very well done.
Mhm.
I took the hourly salary, divided all that up. But whatever the right numbers are, it should be 28 hours, in my mind, 28 hours, split evenly between the two and no health insurance as a part-timer.
All right, so the motion on the table would be to reduce the new admin assistant to part-time and have the budget reflect that by removing all expenses associated with benefits. And so since we don't have that number now and we'd have to pull that together, we can, sorry, that's the motion. Is there a second on the table?
I'm gonna second too.
All right, a second for Deb. So that would include a reduction of 16,670 from the benefits, the health insurance component, because that would go away. We'd see a slight reduction in payroll taxes and a partial reduction in line 70127 because half of that salary would come out of there, or half of that salary difference in salary would come out of there. Now the salary component is going to be small because it's a 4-hour change.
Do we want to also address what it is in Public Works because it's shared?
Yeah, and so we'll just have that motion be for both departments. That's a good point.
So that's line item 140/7020 on page 15.
Mhm. So I'll summarize the motion here, and then if it passes, we can go through and change all these things. So the motion would be to have the new position be switched to part-time and adjust all associated lines to reflect that cost. So that's the motion on the table. And there's a second from Deb.
Yeah.
So any
Although I think
discussion?
the 32 hours right now is still considered part-time. It's a reduction in hours.
Um,
2 hours, it's a full-time.
Yeah.
it's it's still, it's considered
I see.
full-time.
There was only one
I
person
see.
in that position before.
Mhm. Yeah, because it's
Just a
replacing a
2-hour
full-time. It's replacing a full-time position with a full-time position that has 2 fewer hours.
And much less money per hour.
Yeah, and it's about $7 an hour less.
Oh, you reduce it $7 an hour?
No, that's what,
Oh.
no.
Yeah, okay.
No,
It's still
that's,
paid
I'm
the same
saying that
hourly
the
rate.
vacancy that was created by the code enforcement officer
Yeah, I get
is
it.
being backfilled by an admin assistant, so it's been downgraded in salary by quite a
I
bit,
see.
like downgraded by about $7 an hour.
The whole department's down 16%.
Yeah, and then downgraded in hours, so the position itself, the salary is much lower. With the benefits being unknown, it's benefited at the full town share for a family, if they would take family.
I think your point is with the plan in front of us, we're in much better shape than we would be if we hired a full-time code enforcement officer to replace the
doubt.
existing. That's a good point to make.
Yeah, my point to make is that with the code enforcement officer duties falling on somebody else, that only works if they have a administrative assistance to carry other workload for them. And so by transferring some of that workload from the current department head who is taking over as code enforcement officer, that allows that person to work at top of license and not be spending time working on administrative work at a
Mhm.
premium salary. And so I think that it would be unwise to ask that person to work a lot more and then cut the administrative assistance to them. Because that just allows, I think that would just cause for more difficulty in the position. So
Have we hired already? I know there was a rec out, but
We've made an offer.
we made
yeah.
an offer.
yeah, and so if this were to pass, then the offer would have to be rescinded. So
I would just like to say, I'm not saying we don't have an admin assistant.
yeah, you're saying bring it from 30, you unbenefit it and cut the hours.
That's just part-time.
Yeah.
Is this position also going to help in the office
Yep,
when someone's out.
yes.
Any
So it
other,
improves our services
yeah,
to the residents as well.
Is it-
So, yeah,
Mark?
So in total, it would be a savings of, for both the public works and that would be a savings of $40,080,801.
If, if the
FICA.
person took, if
it
the person was
a-
taking full
it was-
insurance from a
Yeah, if you
full
went from,
family plan.
from what we have budgeted here to a 28 hours a week with no benefits.
I mean, 48,
40,
40,
almost 41,000.
In
So
savings.
20,500 on both sides, or 20,000.
But that is operating under the assumption that the person who accepts the job takes a family insurance plan, which the town shares $30,000 expense there, correct? And so if they were to accept the job and take cash in lieu,
Well, not if you're part-time. I'm just talking about the difference.
sorry, so I'm saying right now, so we're budgeting for a full-time benefited at family insurance.
Correct.
If the person takes if we offer a position and a candidate takes it and takes cash in lieu, the budget is for extra $33,000 for the benefit, but it would actually only be a $1,200 expenditure. So,
Correct.
when you're talking about this cut could only save us that much money if the person accepting it was taking the
Well,
full
yeah, but
expense.
You're kind of.
No, I'm just saying, yeah.
But
No,
we're
so
also
going-
budgeting.
We're going
for
from
that
budget
full-
to
Yeah.
budget, right?
Yeah.
So,
Any discussion from this half table?
not only would it be a reduction in cost, it'll be a reduction in talent.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say is, getting,
Cause I don't think this person that we've offered it to is gonna accept a part-time job with no benefits. There's so much harder to fill.
yeah,
my concern is we have to provide a service and we have to determine what level of service we want to provide. And what I keep hearing is that people want more. And frankly,
well,
I agree in theory, but I also think that we do have to take stuff off Calvin's plate and we have to have somebody help. Yeah, I
mean-
appreciate all the points, John, you're making, and in theory, I agree with each and every one of them. I just, it comes back to this risk reward. I don't know how to a better way to phrase it, and I think the people have expect a service from us, and we need this to meet that level.
yeah, I think that, this change that we have in front of us is providing the same service at a discount from last year. So we've already increased efficiency there.
Yeah.
And so to try to say we need to cut even more, I don't think that it's possible to provide the same service if we make a cut like this and cut hours and cut benefits. Because not only is it fewer hours, it changes the applicant pool from someone who is full-time to part-time. That's just the facts of the matter is benefits are a massive component of people's decision to work someplace. And so I think that,
But there are people who work part-time.
yes,
Who just want the part-time, they don't necessarily want the full-time and they don't necessarily need the benefits. And I think I've known a lot of part-time people over the years and in jobs probably as complicated as this one who did a great job. So I don't think we just automatically say that the part-timer is gonna be a reduction in quality of service.
but it's also a reduction in hours too. So
An hour a day is.
4 hours a week,
4 hours,
10% of
yeah.
a 40% hour job.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, we already have people complaining about the lack of service, and this would be a reduction in service. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And so, for those reasons, I'm not in support of it. But anybody else have other points?
I think we've already put a lot of pressure's not exactly the right word, but on Calvin taking on 2 department head roles. I think he needs to be supported by a very highly talented admin person and But I do understand the point of 1 hour less per day over the week.
I know,
However, I think we might not get. I understand your point, but I also think we might not get the talent that we need if we reduce it down and don't offer those benefits.
yeah, I mean, I can speak personally, if my hours were reduced 10%, I would do 10% less work because I work at a very
Well,
high
but you would hire the
capacity.
person with that and. Yeah,
Well, if
I don't think,
you can't say we want to hire someone at 28 hours with the expectation they do 32 hours worth of work.
I didn't say that.
Well, then what would you hire the person at? You would hire them to do less work,
Yeah,
right?
1 hour less a day.
Well, 4 hours a week, yeah. So I think that it would just be a foolish enterprise it would decrease our amount of service that we're offering, and we're already offering it at a 16% reduction in the total budget for this department. So, all in favor of the motion?
To just answer your question, I mean, are we, because we're gonna pay the admin assistant with benefits more. And we've given Calvin, I believe, a raise to help cover this. So we are in fact spending more money on this if they take the full benefits, so.
So planning,
Anyway, I don't
planning and
have
codes
anything else.
enforcement is down 16%. Because they're only carrying half the position, half the cost of the job. So,
But that doesn't, what does that matter? It's still the total budget is what I'm trying to get to.
we're thinking about the workload in that department.
Okay.
All right, all in favor of the motion? All opposed?
Feel lonely.
All right. Total general government, 820,685. Moving to page 13. $749,630, a 9.5% increase. Is there any questions or discussion on the motion on this section?
Not surprisingly, a couple. I would make the same, knowing it's a waste of time, but make the same, reduce salaries by 8%. But also on the public works overtime
Or fire.
and
Yeah, public safety. We're in the fire department
Oh, I'm
page.
sorry.
Sorry. I
Hold
just
on.
want to make sure we're on the same page.
Yep.
13.
Just the wages. I guess the question is a little hard, unlike the wage scale, what kind of increase are we seeing with per diems and stuff like that? Looks to me like it's a decrease.
Correct.
Mhm.
Then
Per
I
diem.
have no questions.
Per
on the
diem
chief
line,
stuff.
which line is that?
So
Well, part-time wages,
70-20.
Part-time, yep, down 3%. All right, so what's your motion, John?
it isn't. I'm good with this.
Okay. Alrighty, is there any other discussion on page 13? All right, we're moving on to page 14. Public safety. The only thing in this line here is animal control at 22,600. I know we have a blank line in here for targeted enforcement. My understanding is that if we wanted to have a target enforcement detail in town, like from the county, it would be an expense that we have to pay for. It's blank because I don't think we want to add any other expenses this year, even though.
And 6 months ago, the answer was overwhelmingly no.
Yeah, well, for the increased for the deputy, but I think that I think one thing that had been talked about was that we could set up like, we could put a $20,000-$30,000 in there to have someone come in and dedicate, certain hours to just for a targeted enforcement, but I don't think we want to budget for anything.
If we're talking about target enforcement, to me, Mark had brought up earlier, a warrant article about putting money, into certain accounts. To me, that's if there's money, instead of it going back, some percentage of the money that instead of going back into the fund balance gets put into that targeted enforcement. To me, that's how we should fund that, with money that is either unspent or money that extra income that comes in or revenue that comes in. Because I think it's an important aspect, and seeing the rates of speed people go on our roads firsthand in police reports, I think it's something that needs to be addressed, and seeing the complaints. But to me, that's the way to do it. And so I don't think it's something necessarily to talk tonight, but I think it's a further discussion.
So that would have to be, just to clarify, that would have to be a warrant article that the town would have to vote on, correct?
Correct, and you would have to, you'd have to wait a year to see what extra revenue you got.
Right,
before you
right, right.
could
So
then
for
appropriate
28,
it.
if it
Right.
were to be put forward for the town meeting.
Correct.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
I mean, you could do it now, I guess, I don't know.
It's just, to me, there's a lot of talk about, you know, getting enforcement. I feel like people said no overwhelmingly, yes, but then there's a lot of people who are now saying, we want more.
Well, I don't think they understood what the question was.
And so it's a happy medium where, you know, it's not necessarily money that we're expecting to have carry over from year to year. So it's,
I think it's a good point to raise once that comes through.
so it's an issue for, you know, when we're just talking about warrant articles and, but it's to keep that issue, I think, also at the forefront, because I think it's something that frankly needs to be addressed.
Yeah,
because
it's like to build a fund,
Yeah.
so when we want to pull from it to have it targeted enforcement,
Right,
it's
and-
there to build.
And I don't remember it being, you know, I think it was like $400 an hour. So, you know, it's not, depending on how often we want to do it, but it's also, again, just a discussion to.
Very expensive. And you don't get any ticket revenue.
Right. It is
No.
straight public safety, like
Yeah.
you're slowing people down.
Even if you start your own, even if you get your own deputy assigned to town full time,
Yeah.
there's no ticket revenue that goes towards the municipality. No. Goes to the county and then
Yeah.
they still increase
it
their
goes to the
taxes
state. It
on
goes
it.
to
Or
the
state,
state.
yeah, and we still
It
get
does
an
not-
increase
it does
anyways.
not go to the county.
Sorry. All right. Any questions on 14? Total public safety, 772,230. All right. Public Works page 15, but total public works extends down to page 16. So we're going to be discussing here 1-40-7,000 through 1-40-7,999, which is in the top part of 16. So any questions or recommendations on the public works
Can you
section?
clarify, Mark, what the change of numbers are from what we have?
So it'll be in the part-time wages, which is $69,060. Health insurance, which is, well, actually, that shouldn't change, 158,910. I'm sorry, payroll tax is the one above it, it should be 15,940. And workers' comp is 30,530. And retirement is 48,900.
Down from 48,950.
Oh, I'm sorry, 990.
Okay.
So the total at the very bottom on page 16 is 1,409,582.
Mm-hmm.
So it should be $360 difference from what you have there.
Could you repeat the total number?
1,409,582.
That's still a 0.5% though, right?
Yeah. The percentage.
Yeah, that doesn't.
Yeah, 0. Well, actually, I guess 0.6%.
Okay.
All right. Any questions on this page?
Yes,
All righty.
not shockingly.
All right.
Again, I think Calvin's guys are all doing great, but this is an awful big raise for one time. So I'll make this short because I already know the final solution, but I would decrease full-time staff wages down to 15% instead of 27%. And overtime wages, a little more specific, we're asking for 39,330 in overtime. Is that right? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And we only used 27,000 in the last 12 months, which you had, I assume, a lot of overtime because we were short people. So is 30,000, I would say 30,000 or 31,000 is the right amount there. And then you go down to part-time staff wages, we have 68,640. And We've only spent 16.5 to date and only 21,000 the year before. So 68,000 seems to be extremely high.
That's the other half of the admin position.
The other half of the admin.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, so that makes them, which is
That's 16.
how much?
68.
Which is
About
half the
another
pay for that person?
21,000. About another 21,000.
21,000, so it'd be
So
40,
it's still, yeah.
47,000, which is still, if you had to take that half out of there, which is still significantly more than we've used. And historically, it was 21 in 2024, and so far this year, and 12-month rolling is under 17. So it would seem to me that 47 seems really high. Am I missing something?
The driver of that is that, part-time wages, the total hours was bumped up. I think it was doubled. How much Calvin was expecting for part-time wages. If that's correct.
So right now, I'm over, I'm at 111.36% spent. I'm 6,000 over budget already, so on overtime, so.
And I think we had Kim run the hours and we were like,
No, that was for,
I think it was for.
I don't know if you did it for, I know we did it for the fire department. But that's the big driver was, I think the total number of hours was 2,000 compared to like 1,000.
Is that number of overtime hours?
Yeah, no, the number of
Part-time.
part-time wages.
Okay.
So it's the combination of the added position plus a bump up of the hours, basically going from 1,000 to 2,000.
Are those part-time drivers that are just showing up to plow?
Yeah.
Yeah, for plow season, okay.
And didn't you have a part-timer out?
Yeah, for quite some time, we had a guy that had surgery, so. That's left a lot on the table that we had to make up for that we'll be back this year, so.
Yeah.
Plus, I think you gave them all the cemeteries and they took over, they saved money by contracting and using their part-time.
But that was included in 2024, I think. And I don't know if those are part-time or full-time guys. I think 68,000 is too high, and the numbers have floated past me, so 21,000, you subtract 21,000, so that's 47,000. And then compared to, you've spent 16.5 to this point. In 2024, you spent 21,000. So are we 20,000 or so more than what we should be there?
Can you you're halfway through motion. Can you summarize the motion?
Yeah, I will go back to it. So cut full-time wages down to 15% increase. Overtime wages, I would cut down to 30,000.
Mm-hmm.
And then part-time wages, 41,000. I would say 30,000.
Cut down to?
Well, I'm sorry, it is 21,000 part-time.
Right now it's 21,000. So
that
just
is
the part-time
47.
public works people, it would be about 47, somewhere in there.
Part-time.
That's
And
currently part.
So I say 35,000 in part-time.
So bring that to
That's
35,000.
good, yes.
So the motion on the table is to decrease nothing on department heads?
No,
Okay. The motion on the table is to decrease full-time wages to reflect only a 15% increase.
Correct.
To decrease the overtime wages from budget from 39,330 to 30,000. And then to decrease part-time staff wages to 35,000 even. And does that capture your motion? Okay, is there a
Very good,
second?
thank you.
Is there a second on the motion?
If I could limit it to discussion about the part-time wages, because I think we've talked about the other stuff. But,
So,
I mean,
you
I'll
have a
second
second?
it.
Okay.
I'll second
All
it.
right, so any discussion on the motion?
but,
How'd you get to the 30,000 number on overtime?
well, you're at 20, it's a 10% increase off of this year, off of the 2026, 12 months. I'm sorry, not. Depends on what you consider. So that's a 10% increase there.
So are you anticipating paying people less or there being less overtime? Or both?
Both, actually.
Okay, and how'd you calculate that number?
By just using 10%, we've been paying the 27.3, and a 10% increase off of that is another 3, so it takes you to 30.
So
And, you
our,
know, this was
our
an.
12-month actual was 27,353.
Yeah,
And so your proposal is to only add $6,647 to that.
No, he's saying,
Less.
he's saying to make overtime wage budget 30,000.
30, so 3,000.
So he's adding 10% to.
All right.
the-
So the budgeted right now is 39,000. So he's decreasing
Correct.
the
By
overtime by 9,300. And so my question was, is the intent that that is coming out of the wages of the people working overtime, or you expect there to be fewer overtime hours?
Fewer overtime hours, the
Now,
biggest chunk.
What's making you think we're gonna have fewer
Because
overtime?
we had a couple things. He was extremely short and we had a hell of a year.
In what way?
Overtime.
Weather.
Snow.
Well, it
But-
was actually not a very busy snow year.
Well,
I can speak to that.
Yeah.
A lot of the reason you're seeing, that number is because I was driving a plow truck, my foreman was driving a plow truck. We had nobody to go out and shovel sidewalks or keep the.
So that's salaried employees driving?
Yeah, so we're not making overtime.
So-
So I'm working for nothing. My crew's making time and a half and I'm working for zero.
Yeah. And who else was,
And my foreman's doing the same thing.
and is he
Well, no,
salaried?
he's actually making time and a half, but I'm saying is that shouldn't be happening. We had other jobs we should have and could have been doing. So
So you were picking up the overtime
we
we
picked
paid?
up the overtime, yes.
Okay. So I don't
So
think
do
it
you
would,
foresee now you have staff moving forward that would cover that
Yeah, but.
in
you're
their
gonna see-
regular hours?
But you're gonna see a significant increase. I mean, as you say, you look at
it's
the
over
current,
now.
you look at the current budget right now, and I'm already at 51,692, and I'm already $5,300 over. So I can't imagine you.
So that is for 14 months, right? I mean, you're through what, the end of March or the end of February? Your numbers.
That's current right now today.
from year to date or from the last budget?
Yeah, 14 months.
Yeah. So that's
No,
over,
entire 15 months.
but that's over the proposed budget for that timeline. So,
Right.
yeah, so it's not like it's just, oh, it's over because you're 5 months over 12 months. It's over the proposed budget. So I just don't see how we can just say, I think there's gonna be less hours.
No, they do.
Well, I mean, you can reduce it, but if they work it, we're gonna pay it. So, I mean, and,
Yeah.
you know, I
And
mean,
I'll tell you, we never used to separate overtime from regular time. We just had one bucket, we put it all in. And Mark said, no, we should be separating the overtime from, so I never knew how many hours of overtime we had because I just always had a bucket for 10
Total
years.
wages.
But
Yeah.
if I had 297,000 there and we spent 90% of it, then that was good.
Yeah. So we just tighten that up.
So since Mark's been here, we've kind of tightened things up and gotten
It's
a
good to
handle
know.
on, we knowing where the money's going and.
right.
Okay. Yeah, so I just don't think that adds up accurately to decrease overtime hours. Especially with the added information of salaried workers picking up the difference. Any other questions?
Okay, so most of their overtime is plowing snow.
Mm-hmm.
So if they have to plow snow, they're going to plow snow rather, no matter what the overtime is. If you wanna reduce it, you can reduce it. They're still gonna plow snow at midnight. It ain't like they're gonna, and then you'll see that maybe you shouldn't have reduced it.
But where is that money coming from if we reduce this?
Hmm?
Where would that come from?
The road commissioner can ask for additional funds directly from the select board for roads as needed.
Or overtime?
Yeah, if it's gonna be over budget.
Well, but if it was transferred from elsewhere, that something else has to not be done.
So
They get paid from something.
it would come from unassigned fund balance.
Right.
Basically where it would come from.
But it would show that you probably shouldn't have reduced it.
Well, I mean,
But it also wouldn't be taxed on. Remember, everything in here is gonna get taxed on. So,
what do you mean?
I mean, I guess I'll call the
But
vote.
charging the residents.
Well, no, if it doesn't get used, it gets returned to the.
Yeah,
I know, but
we
if
bring
you
it
put it in the
back.
budget,
But
it goes
yes,
against the
they
tax
pay
base.
taxes on it.
I think it's a bad practice to base off of last year, always base off of last year's actuals, especially when there's externalities. So, I mean, but if you're basing off last year's actuals, that's where you end up with situations where you're encouraging department heads to to use it or lose it, so they don't have to have these sorts of conversations. So it says, hey, yeah, go find some overtime, guys, because I don't want to get shellacked because we had a year where we might just happen to have lower overtime. And in this case, it's because Calvin worked unpaid. And so I just think it's very bad practice to say, well, your actual last year was lower, so you never get that amount back. Even though your staff time is your staff wages are gonna increase, your benefits are gonna increase, and those overtimes could increase. And it's not like we're signing off on an approval of overtime saying, yeah, you're allowed to work overtime. I mean, the plow's gotta run when the plow's gotta run. And so I think it'd be better to budget for a little bit of a cushion for plowing than under budget and then come back and ask for forgiveness the following years. Especially because we're now in a budgetary model where if people come in under budget, that gets brought back to them through the use of the unassigned fund balance the following year. We're keeping track of what we're not using and we're bringing that back. We're not, just saying, oh, that's pure profit. This is not a public enterprise. So I just don't think it's a good practice. And I when it comes to things like this, I'm going to defer to our department head who manages the department it has for 12 years as to what an adequate overtime is and not armchair overtime I think it should be less because it was last year. I mean,
I've
there's
just
a
gone
lot
off
of
the
trends
numbers
here.
the staff provided, which it looks like it's missing 2 months. I mean, the numbers that were provided us to look at this are here, actual year-to-date 2026.
No, that's 12 month. That's
12 month,
January
okay.
1, 2025 through December
Okay,
30,
I'll rephrase
2025,
it. It's
which also
actual
doesn't
total.
account for Calvin's unpaid overtime
That
because
is a
he
point.
absorbed that,
But we just approved a major pay increase to not have Calvin to do that because we're gonna hire other people. So,
which means that those
I mean,
hours
I'll
are
call
going
the
to get
vote.
used.
I mean, I already know the answer, but I'll call.
But
it.
if we approve the staff to hire to do that and Calvin's not doing it, those hours are going to be used by someone else
That's my point. You're gonna see a lot more overtime.
because
But-
Calvin's no longer
So-
donating, dozens of
Can
hours.
can I just ask Calvin a question
Yeah.
to try to get to that? Because I was missing it until the two of you. About during the plow, let's call plow season. How many hours over your 40 hours were you working on average?
Some weeks I get 60, 70, some weeks 80 hours. And so those are everything over 43. So my guys are making more than I am. They're making.
Right,
they're making time and a half.
And those would be hours that if you were full staff would likely have gone to overtime for one of the full staff or to the part-time.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, and the question here is, and it could be, the discussion is, well, we want to save time on overtime, so we expect our salaried workers to do what it takes to plow, and that's not something I'm comfortable with asking. So,
I think it was so bad last year that not only Calvin was in there, but John brought up a point from a constituent that he wanted to put a plow truck on the fire truck to help out. So, let me add some overtime wages for the public works, because the fire chief's not plowing.
yeah,
Brought up by a select board member.
yeah. Yeah. I mean, the expenses are there because that's what it's costing us to do the business, and winter's so variable that I'd rather we budget for some accordingly. I mean, we know that our expenses that we're budgeting for we came in 0.62%, so it seems like our system's working pretty good. But we can have a vote on the motion. All in favor of John's motion? Any opposition? All right. Motion fails. We're gonna move on to page 16.
I'm not done yet
Okay.
on this. Yeah, this, everybody just hold on to your chairs because my questions are, we have, I think, 15,000 in for crack sealing.
Mhm.
And yet we said that we were gonna, because we're not gonna pave as much, we're gonna crack seal. And we show 15,000 for this next year.
Mhm.
We've already used 19,000. It was 15,000 3 years ago. Is 15,000 enough, or do we throw an extra 10,000 in? If you're gonna do, question is, if you're gonna do crack sealing in lieu of paving. I mean, I think that was a discussion last time, which is we can extend road life by crack sealing. Which is good. I mean, I appreciate that thought, but I don't know that you've got enough to do it there.
So, I was asked to tighten my belt and find places we could save money and try to get us down to, we didn't like that 10.9%, and so. I
Well,
kept-
13 now, but,
Well, that's the school, I have no control over what the school does,
Yeah.
but I went line by line and cut and cut and cut to the point where I'm cut. I certainly,
That's gonna put it back.
I guess,
So you're gonna make 15,000 work.
I'm gonna do $15,000 worth of crack seal.
Yeah.
I'll
That's
go as
it.
far as that takes.
well, but my
Is your
problem
motion
is,
to add more?
well, yeah, I mean, I'm saying,
Make the motion.
I know everybody, so I would
We
say,
might vote with you this time.
you use 19, I'd say take it up to 20,000.
All right, so
That's my only gift to you, Calvin.
he wants to cut your wage, but he'll
But I
give you
don't,
some more.
I don't want
cover.
us to not crack seal because we're short. I mean, I appreciate what you guys did.
So
but
the motion is to increase line 01407259 from 15,000 to 25,000.
That is my motion.
All right, is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, any discussion?
Has the cost of crack sealing gone up?
I haven't gotten the prices yet this year, but I'm sure.
Is it, does crack sealing price mirror asphalt tonnage prices at all?
It's a rubber asphalt, so, yeah.
I know that asphalt prices are over $600 a ton. right
Should it
now.
be 25,000? I just want to make sure we have
Oh, you
enough.
already added 10,000 to bring it to 25,000.
No, I added 5,000 to make it 20.
You know,
Oh.
trying to
It would have been
quantify.
your.
I just want to make sure that we don't run out of the ability to crack seal, because I agree with you, that's an important substitute for paving.
It's an important tool in the toolbox, and crack sealing is very difficult to quantify. It's like how many, because it's not like I can say, depends on how many cracks, how many gallons they use, and so.
Well, it looks like last year you did 20, you did 15.
I did 20 because I went $20,000 worth and went as far as I could.
Yeah.
So, and this year I'll take whatever you give me.
Sounds like what you're saying is whatever the select board or the town gives you for crack sealing, you use it
I
all.
will use it all.
And so
Well, and I
if you
appreciate
give
that.
more, if you give more, you can find more cracks to seal.
Well, I don't think he's gonna have to look real hard,
No.
but I will amend my motion to make it 25,000.
Okay.
But at the
So the
same
motion
time-
is to raise the line 01407259 from 15,000 to 25,000. Is there John amended his motion. Whomever seconded John's previous motion, would they second that?
Yes.
Okay. John friendly amended his own motion.
I will.
That's all right.
I'm done discussing.
All right. Any other questions on the motion? All right. Seeing none, all in favor? Go ahead. All right, then speak now or ever hold your peace.
I'll support it now.
All right.
I don't-
All opposed? All right, the motion carries to increase crack ceiling to 25,000.
I was down 0.8% now. I'm up to zero yesterday.
Well,
I went to a 0.3. What am I, 0.3?
I wouldn't keep the discussion going, Calvin, so.
all right, anything else on this page?
Move it.
From 15.5.
All righty, second part of Public Works is line 7501 through 7,999. Is there any questions or suggestions around here?
Yes, please.
Yep.
Gas and diesel,
I was
and
gonna
Chief, I forgot to ask you this question, is looks like you spent I guess the question is $45,000 enough given where we are? And I know you can't predict, but are you comfortable with 45,000 for gas and diesel?
Well, we kind of can predict because we entered in a contract that Jerry put together with, so we know the gas, we couldn't get that.
Yeah, the gas is tough because,
We don't use a lot of gas.
yeah, the gas is tough to get a quote because what they do is they give you rack price plus 20 cents. So when we got this, the rack price was $2.25. a gallon, right? But then the war started, so I went back in here and I added 5,000 to the total, cause I don't know, cause now we're paying way more, so I don't know what it is. I don't have a crystal ball to say, you know, but I did add a little bit after the war started.
Is,
That's just for the gasoline.
Yeah,
and what do you use gasoline in?
That's my pickup, red 1 ton,
Fire utility.
She
Mhm.
uses it, so, yeah.
Weed eaters, lawnmowers?
Lawnmowers, yeah, all that.
But, so I
Well,
guess,
if we bring your tool budget up, can we buy some scissors and you can handle it that way, maybe? No? You use up that overtime? Well, I'm happy to hear that I know you brought it up last time, that the diesel price is locked in, cause that's, you know,
and I guess I didn't,
robust right now.
there's no changes there. Chief, are you happy with your gas and diesel? I apologize, I forgot to ask.
We did the same,
Okay,
same
so you're
budget, thank you.
Okay.
Alrighty, any other questions on public works? Alright, municipal buildings. $38,720 for municipal buildings. Any questions on this section?
The flags are for the cemetery.
Mhm.
Thank you.
And part-time staff is cleaning contract, yep,
yeah,
okay.
for the most part. Sometimes we have extra people going there and cleaning too, so it's more than the cleaning lady, but.
Yeah. Alrighty.
And it's for like little odd things that people come in and do too.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Any questions here? Alrighty. Solid waste. $501,050.
I'm gonna close out my day with another increase. I'd make a motion that we add $16,000 to bulky waste day. I
Is
think,
there a second?
I'll second.
Deb.
I think there's a demand for that, and I keep seeing vacuum cleaners and doors and everything else on
I don't know if
Thursday.
there's any bulky waste left.
But I don't think
Questionable.
16,000 will cover it. It was
No.
17,600 last time.
So 18,000?
I think you've been.
I amend my, since it's never been seconded, I'll change it to 18,000.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Deb.
Is that good, Calvin?
What's that?
18 good?
I think you better be 19 or 20, guys.
Alright, friend.
You're asking a lot. I will amend my motion to 19,000.
Yeah, it was 17,600 last year.
Deb, do you second
And
that,
it goes up
friendly
5% every year, so
I'll second. the
All right,
19
so-
days.
So
at least.
19,000.
based on your conversation earlier, did you want to amend your motion to also raise? the
Yes, if
income?
this is the time to do it.
Yes.
I would,
Mhm.
I'll go back, thank you. My thought would be is if when we have bulky trash day, thinking positive, which I shouldn't be doing tonight. I would like us to add $3,750 to revenue for, admission fee, whatever you want to call it. And that is $15 times the 250 cars we had last year.
I'll second that.
Alright,
Part of the-
so we have dueling banjo motions here. We got $19,000 to bulky waste, and we're gonna say that also includes adding $3,750 to a fee for the bulky waste.
So the net increase is 15,250,
Mhm.
or I'm sorry, 16,000.
Yeah, taking out the cost.
No, I'm sorry, 15,250. Yeah.
So are we thinking people are gonna pay at the door?
Yes,
When they get there?
that's, unhappily, I'm thinking they will be paying at the door. If
I
not-
pay
that's-
15
so-
bucks.
So that's something that you're all gonna have to like, make a policy for and tell us how we're supposed to administer that. So just know that before.
Well, we have been collecting for tires. I've seen Jessica doing that. And Calvin, I think, said last time we collect for refrigerators and washers and dryers, big appliances. So I think we want to keep doing
It was
that.
just,
that's not
it was just the air conditioning and the.
Or just the Freon stuff?
Dehumidifiers.
Well,
Anything with free.
I'd like to see us charge for those things, but this is one step at a time. So, yeah, as you come in the gate or as you drive back out through the garage when they drop off tires, they're writing a check for, I don't know. We can work out the details later, but they get a slip from, seems to me that, you come in and somebody gives you, the guy, you pay at the gate for the $15.
That include just one time through, because we have some people that come through two
Yeah,
times.
every
One time
load
through.
is $15. Unless it drives in a Ford F-150 with a dent on the side. There's a discount for damaged vehicles.
Or a Ford Escort.
Yeah, I mean, more or less what you're proposing is that the town for one day acts as a transfer station, and then people pay a set rate regardless of what they bring in. So to put it in perspective, I did spring cleaning last week. I brought my trailer and my truck over to the dump, and it was $50 to empty it.
Yeah, I mean,
Now,
I
on top
said
of
it
the
was 60.
$50 fee. And so,
I think it's much cheaper than.
yeah, so I pay my $50 annual fee, but my tipping fee on household bulky waste was $50.
At Freeport.
Yeah, that was what I paid. So like 15 seems low to me.
I'm,
For me, with the budgetary situation we're in, and people are asking us to cut expenses and manage things, I'm saying no to bulky waste personally, or if we're gonna have something, I'd say it needs to be paid for itself. So if it's, I mean, this is a high number, but if it's $18,000 normally to put it on after we pay the tipping fee and all that sort of stuff, and there's 250 cars, I'd say you want to have this pay for itself. It saves people the need of having to get the dump sticker. But I just don't want to add another expense at this point. I understand it's a nominal amount. But
So you're basically saying pay as you throw, and no
Bulky waste, yeah.
taxpayer who doesn't participate.
I would be more apt to not
Pays
do
everything.
anything and do a massive outreach campaign to get as much people to get rid of as much bulky waste as they can this year, and then put what they can through the trash system before the bags kick in, and then we just say we're holding off on it. I also got some feedback from residents saying that they think bulky waste should be an every other year thing. To save money. Again, it's a nominal amount, and since I've been here, we bounced it back every other year for a few years. And so for me, I don't like the idea of going after town wages, but increasing bulky waste personally. And so I just don't like that, and I'm not going to support it.
well, I think this is a service to people. It seems to be very popular, and we tried one year not doing in the time I've been here. And what I gathered was it was not successful.
I recall certain people in town offering to come pick up waste for free for people.
I do remember
and
that,
they said we could go on.
It didn't work. But so anyway, I think we should do that. It's a service to the town folk, and it's one that they want.
Well, real quick, sorry. No, you go ahead, John. Josh,
No, you go.
Like, I think there's more to it here. So I show up on my pickup truck, 8-foot bed versus 6-foot bed, and I've got that thing absolutely mired with, construction debris because I'm a contractor who just did a remodel. Versus I show up and I've got an old TV in there. That's and what I'm getting at is like it's just very variable. Or I show up with my truck and trailer and I've got it absolutely loaded. I think that there's more to just a flat $15 rate if that's what the route we wanted to take personally. So
My concern is, who's gonna collect, I mean, if you're going to have Jessica collect at the end of the line when people are leaving, it's gonna delay everything, it's gonna take longer to get the same number of cars through. And or you're gonna have to do it at the beginning where there's more waiting, and then you're gonna have to hire somebody else to do it. Look, I mean, I told my wife, it's like my favorite day of the year. I bring my daughter and she gets to go look at the trucks, and hopefully she gets to see the trucks and smash stuff. But
maybe you could trade in 7 yellow trash tags.
Right. And so that's my concern. I mean, the line moves more quickly than people think. My wife every year, she's like, the line's so far backed up, it's gonna take you forever, and then I'm home in a half hour. Like, it's great, it works really well. How are we gonna take checks, cash, credit cards?
Well, I
What-
think checks or cash, but I mean, I think that to be determined, but I think we should try to do it. And don't go at 8 o'clock. I mean, go at 10:30 and you zip right in there is what I tell people. So
Well,
I
no,
know
I
that people have
agree.
softball and baseball and.
I agree, except, you know, I still think you're gonna talk about, we're gonna have to pay somebody, like, unless someone's gonna go there for free to collect the money.
The other option, not that I'm building John's case for him, though I'm gonna vote against it, is, if maybe there could be you buy a tag at the town office in advance so that it can save the line. So you come in and you buy a fancy yellow bulky waste tag, and we encourage that. And so if you're there, you hand it over, and that's less people. So
That would reduce the impact on that day.
I mean, there's one year where Calvin was checking licenses. I remember, you know, was it Mark who came in
Writing tickets
after the
for-
last one, asking us to be there, and, you know, I'd go say hi to people and, you know, do that, but my kid has sports and so I can't, you know,
No, I mean,
someone was asking me today, I'm like, I can't schedule until Friday night because that's when I get the schedule. I mean, so I like the idea. But, I think I think it takes a lot more planning than what we're putting into it right now.
Well, we've got a year. I mean, we have 13 months to do the details.
Chief, you had something?
I'm trying not to explode as my ears are bleeding. I'm listening to someone say, I want to cut salaries. I want to cut overtime. I want the employees to go on Saturday and work overtime to throw away trash. So I want to cut your pay raise, but I definitely have to throw away trash. That's what, as the employees, I'm here.
What you missed was that we are eliminating a service to the residents of this town, is what I was saying. And I
Cut
think you
pay
missed
raise
that.
and see how many services get cut.
Yeah.
So I just want to say, because like, as my responsibility, I gotta manage the budget, right? So when we do a major campaign to get rid of as much bulky waste as we can, we have 15,000 to take us this May. So I just caution you, because if we go over and we're over budget, who's gonna explain that to the people? Why we're over? Is it me when I'm not adding this sort of stuff? I mean, we'll probably be okay, but just be, I just ask you to be a little bit more cognizant, because you're scaring me, right? Because I have to manage, that's my responsibility, but at least come talk to me and see where we are. I mean, we're coming into these meetings where, I mean, it just seems.
I said last meeting that I wanted to add this. I didn't know the amount, but I did bring it up.
Right, but we have 15 to go now, and we're talking about budgeting 19 for next year. So if we do a major campaign on bulky waste this year, we could be over $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 in that line, and I'm just asking you to be cognizant of that.
That's a good point.
We didn't budget. I mean, so to have a meeting like this and just start throwing things around without.
Well,
really,
my comment on
I'm
that
just-
is,
I know, I'm
I
not
thought
just
we were
talking
also
about
a
that.
little bit under on tonnage for the trash pickup this year.
Are we? I would not say that.
Yeah.
No.
That I could have made an incorrect assumption there.
I don't think
So,
that's accurate,
um,
considering what we've seen around this town.
No, I mean,
We
ultimately,
spent 100,000 last week, so it's crap on the road.
I just want to say one thing about bulky waste. I love bulky waste. I love going. I love experiencing it and everything else. It is cheaper for the taxpayer to go to Freeport or to go somewhere else to do everything and unload all of their crap. I think that this is not the way with budget. I think if we're trying to cut, this is where we cut. It makes sense. That's, and I love bulky waste. So it sucks for me too, but I don't think we should have it.
any other discussion?
I would just say, I like the idea. I just trying to make that decision right now and then saying we'll plan for it in a year. I don't know. That's my issue with it. I think, you know, does that make sense? Do you know what I'm saying?
So
We have to make the decision.
Well, didn't when we decided not to do it that one year, didn't we have a public vote on it? Wasn't there a vote?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, bulky waste used to be voted on every town meeting, and it was like up for conversation. And it usually it swayed as to whether the people in the town thought they were going to personally use it that year. And so some years it passed, and some years it didn't. And so the reason I'm against it is that we have a large budget increase. This is a small amount, but I think it's very important we're showing the optics of tightening up where we can. Even though this, $18,000 isn't going to have a meaningful impact on it, I think that it's showing the optics of like, this is something that, I mean, perfect example. We talk about getting rid of text messaging because only 900 people use it, but we want to keep bulky waste and only 250 people use it. So, I
Well,
mean,
I think we need to be careful because I haul 2 or 3 people.
right. So it sounds like you want it because you use it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But I told
So,
everybody.
so I don't
No,
think we should have to let
I
our
take
personal
offense at
opinion.
that. I'm not doing this just so that I get free trash disposal.
So if
Please
we're
don't
using the logic of
imply that.
250 of the 1,600 household or 4,000 people use it, it's not a service that's utilized by a lot of people, and everyone's carrying that expense. And so if we're talking about getting rid of a $4,000 expense because only 900 of the 4,000 people use it, I think it's fair to get rid of an $18,000 expense and only 250 vehicles use.
Okay, but I will say very explicitly, I am not in favor of bulky waste because I use it. I mean,
Mhm.
that's not the only reason.
Mhm.
That's kind of a little offensive.
I apologize. That came off harsher than I intended, John.
Thank you. But anyway, I guess we need a vote.
Mhm. I do want to clear up. I don't think that's why you were voting for it. That was much harsher than I intended for it to come off as. That's my mother and me, and she wouldn't be upset if I said that. So,
What is
the motion is to add $19,000 for bulky waste and increase revenue by $30,750 via a bulky waste payment system.
Can I add, like, this 19,000 is also sort of out of thin air, right? Because usually you'll get an estimate from Casella.
Well, I'd say it depends on how many tons of trash.
Right.
So there is no set fee.
But
Well, any of the budget, I mean, a lot of these are sort of out of thin air. I
yeah,
mean,
but there's
There's more externalities in bulky waste than there are in other budget lines.
well, it was 17.6 last year, I guess, the one day, or is that includes 2 of them there?
No, that's just.
That's just one. That's actual, yeah, thank
So
you.
last year is over.
So I don't know that
Right.
19,000, Calvin's right, that's only a $1,400 increase with fees and everything else.
And it very well could be higher because if we're moving to a pay-as-you-throw system, there might be people saying, well, I'm gonna $15, that's the cost of 5 33-gallon bags. I'll just fill my truck with as many of my own trash bags as I want and go bring it over there so I can get rid of it more. And so if we're saying bulky waste only, not household trash, that could be mitigating it a little bit. But I can envision someone saying, I'm just gonna put all my trash in a trailer for the first 6 months and then drop it off on bulky waste day for
Do we
15 bucks.
check that though, right? I mean, your guys or whoever, it's hard, they don't have the bags, but it's.
They're not supposed to bring household trash.
Right, that's
Yeah,
a
If it's in a
rule.
contractor bag, we're not looking.
Cutting it open and looking.
We wouldn't know until it was in the crusher, and I'm not digging it out at that point.
No, I agree, but I mean, there is some quality control.
Mhm.
But I'm ready to vote.
I'm thinking that the people who are wise enough to cut their tags in half or make fake tags are gonna figure out a way to fit some household trash inside of a contractor bag. All right, all in favor of the motion to add bulky waste in? All opposed? Any opposition? All righty. Total public work, or sorry,
We should just
total
summarize.
solid waste, $501,000. Oh, yeah, you make a motion to extend the meeting by forever?
2 minutes?
oh yeah.
Well, I make a
Let's just do an
motion,
hour.
yeah, we gotta start
Yeah,
getting some stuff done.
I make a motion, we extend the meeting by until 10 o'clock. And hope to get done before that. That's my motion.
I'll
Do I have a
second.
second? All right, Deb, any questions? All in favor? Any opposition? Did you bring candy?
Could you just summarize that motion did not
The
pass?
motion failed, 3-2. And so the solid waste budget line is gonna be $501,050. And bulky waste day will be lacking in 2027. Total public works is 1.9 million, increase of 1.5%. Community service, general assistance is at $1,000. Any discussion about that?
Outside organization, so this does not budget for baseball or, snowmobiles?
No, I think we said that's coming out of a different.
Yeah, so
Okay, I'm good.
we discussed snowmobiles just getting the pass through of what we get on behalf of them from registration.
Makes sense.
But we have a standing fund balance that we could use for things like baseball and stuff like that. And one thing I recall us discussing last meeting was where we're cutting everywhere we can. You know, new requests will have to be considered knowing that it's coming out of account that has a finite amount and it doesn't have a plan to be replenished, so.
But
So this year on the warrant, we'll have an article that allows the select board to give the snowmobile club up to whatever the state reimburses us for snowmobile registrations.
Mhm.
So that'll be on the warrant
And
every year.
there's something in there, like we have to work with the snowmobile club in order to get that, right? Or,
We have to have a recognized snowmobile club. Yes,
yeah.
to get the
And we do.
refund, yeah.
Yeah, and they're generally just asking for what they know they're paying in. To
Like I
be
think
returned.
this year, just for information, they're asking for like 1,500, but
We
what,
get 1,900.
and we got 1,900,
Mhm.
so. You
Yeah.
could request up to 1,900 by that warrant article. You know,
Yeah.
we'll have, when we go with the warrant articles, I'll highlight what's changed, so you'll know it's there.
Mhm.
But with baseball, I don't know how you would do that.
All right.
can I just ask a general question?
Yeah.
Yeah, we got the bill.
So I will tell you, the number of times I've looked at this, the general assistance is the one that's given me the biggest heartache because it's only $1,000,
Yeah.
but at the same time, like, I mean, we're in that time and
Mhm.
things are getting tougher and
Yeah. And it gets reimbursed 70% from the state, right?
It does.
Yeah.
We get some requests, most of them are denied, but there are gonna be times, like you can see here, where we didn't have one that was denied, so. Again,
Our hands are held in some situations where we have to accept the,
oh, you have to process every application, and if
Yeah,
they,
good.
and if they qualify, then we're on the hook for it. Like I said, we'll get reimbursed. It's hard to
Yeah,
know
I
how
mean-
long somebody's gonna be on it, I mean, they have about 30 days they have to keep reapplying, I believe.
Someone at General Assistance told me, if someone got, they had no housing here in Durham and they had to get they were evicted and they had to get a hotel room, we would be on the hook for that hotel bill up for so many months.
yeah, the other challenge is I know that a lot of times if someone is working with a caseworker, that they will help them go for the resources that are available. So they can quickly get above that. And I know through meetings with GP cog, some of our friends throughout the county and throughout Cumberland County, their municipality's budget for this line has a couple extra zeros after it compared to ours and those larger service centers. And so, how much risk do we want to expose ourselves to there? I mean, we still have our contingency,
You do, if
fund.
you need it, yeah.
and so that's where I would, in an effort to keep expenses low, knowing that we're adding in a balance for unemployment, adding in for other things, that contingency balance of $50,000, I'd maybe say that that's what we keep an eye on for this and just hold this where it is and reevaluate, understanding that's a risk, but also understanding that like if expenses come through and it's a $10,000 expense and we do have to dip into contingency, the state reimburses 7,000 of that, so it's a 70% reimbursement.
I mean, increase in, like, we had put in the summary, these increases of like 1 or 2,000, it doesn't move the tax levy at all. It just, it's not enough to move it, so it doesn't, I mean, if you wanted to have it in there as insurance, you can put it in there, it's not gonna It's not gonna raise the. the
Personally,
levy.
yeah, I understand that. Personally, I just think, again, we're trying to tighten where we can, and I think that the contingency balance is where we're gonna have to cover those expenses should they arise personally. Rather than addressing this line.
Other than the earlier comment about the legal fees, it made me nervous about the contingency, but that's fine.
You know, we may go over on that line too. We got some pending stuff, so
So
see how it goes.
Does anyone else
So-
have thoughts on general, or assistance?
I think if somebody has to go to a hotel for a month, we're gonna have to find money somewhere, so. The reserve somewhere.
I think they just, they have to apply every 30 days, so 1 months, right? Unless they reapplied and.
She had quoted me as so many months that we would be, yeah. But maybe I guess if they were in the hotel and they reapplied, then they would automatic, you know what I mean?
Yeah, if they.
Quoted me one of them.
Yeah, I mean, I think that that was where we would tap the contingency balance personally.
No, I just,
Yeah, it's
I just wanted to raise that.
I think
as
it's a good
the-
question to consider.
That's the one that makes me nervous because
Alrighty, any questions on page 18? Can see the light at the end of the tunnel. Alright, moving on, can't really adjust, debt services. So, gonna skip over that. County tax and education, I wish we could decrease that, but it's not the case. So debt services is $624,111. And what someone had asked about there, so the principal is down and then the interest is down. Okay, why does that say a 16.2% increase?
The calculation for that normalized percentage column is just assuming everything in column, the FY 26 column is 18 months or 1.5 times more
Mhm.
than what it normally would be. So you'll see in the actual categories that these are the actual percentages when you're comparing actual apples to apples. So for example, in the and I put asterisks here so people can see why it's different. So education, even though on that departmental worksheet looks like it's up 14%, it'll actually be up 10.1% compared to the same 12-month period. Debt service is going to be down by 1.6%, 1.88%, and then county tax is up 12.6%.
Okay. All right. So on page 19, there's nothing we can adjust. Other than
Tax abatements, should there be some money in there for that line?
No, that's so that is from the overlay. So even though overlay is technically a contra revenue, it reduces. I mean, it increases how much you're.
So we don't, the overlay
You don't budget
determines.
for this. This is just like homestead and ETE are determined by the mill rate. This line will also be determined by the mill rate. So that FY 26 budget was a result of the mill rate that you guys selected for
Thank you.
26.
and transfers out.
Should that 395, that's going into fire, the other reserve, right?
Reserve account.
Those are all the reserves. Yep.
Those are all the reserves in that.
And it's only
individual capital projects
395,
were sent
okay.
out.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Any questions on page 19? I know we want to bring it up, but reserves is a place where a cut can be made to have a meaningful impact. I've heard people bring that up before. I'm not comfortable because those reserves are what prevents us from accruing debt in the future. And for all the reasons that we have discussed in the past about having a long-term capital plan, I wouldn't be comfortable cutting in reserves. So any questions on page 19? All right. So page 20 is just our balance here, so there's nothing here that we're going to adjust. So at this point, I would accept a motion to approve the budget as amended. And Jess, do you have the amendments tracked, and Mark, do you have them?
Yep. It's right up there.
All right.
I would make that motion.
There is a motion from Josh to accept the budget as amended. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Rebecca has seconded. Is there any discussion? Mark,
I did want to point out, I did a comparative analysis of the actual tax assessment, so even though the budget is increasing, I know that, it's important to understand the impact on the tax assessment. So, what you're looking at is the actual assessment history from 2021 through 2027, or 2026 is actual, and then 2027 is projected.
Does that help?
Yeah.
And what you
Thank
can,
you.
what I wanted to point out here is that, for 2021, 2022, prior to that, the municipal portion of the assessment had generally been around 21% of the assessment, and this education was 71. So it had been pretty steady for those 3 years. And then starting in 2024, the other two portions, county assessment and education assessment, have taken an increasingly larger portion of the actual assessment, so that if this budget, that as amended you guys accept it, the end result would be that the municipal portion of the assessment is only 11.8%. And what that is it is a pressure on you guys, or on the town, to essentially absorb and cut on the municipal side, where the county and the school have increased, right? In order to maintain a tax levy at a lower percent. And you can see that actually in actual dollars compared to 2021, the municipal assessment is $500,000 less.
the school's 2.5 million more.
Right. So this is really important to understand, because when taxpayers are considering the municipal assessment or considering the budget, they're only considering the municipal assessment portion. And they really should be considering when they're going to vote for the education, even though I know you guys don't have complete control as a municipality over that education, because you're an RSU, and the county obviously is increasing. The biggest portions there obviously are the jail in the county. That's what drives that increased jail costs, and the fact that the state hasn't covered corrections fees as much as they should, I think. And then with education, it's the same thing, right? The state on average covers 55% of EPS costs, but my experience has been that that's EPS is the basic that you'll get. And for some municipalities, I'm not sure about the RSU here, but most municipalities that I deal with, they're minimum receivers, so they're not even getting anywhere near, not even 10% of their costs covered by the state. And so what that does is it shifts from when the state isn't taking basically income tax and paying for corrections and for education at a higher level, they're basically shifting that burden to the municipalities based off of property tax, where that's not based off of your ability to pay, whereas income taxes. So I just wanted to point that out. This is a pretty, of my clients, you guys are the starkest in this regard here, of this
As in,
squeezing.
we keep our percentage.
Your percentage keeps has shrunk over the last 5 years significantly.
Right.
Well, I think one thing to note here too is, seeing that 1.6 from the municipal side go down to 1.1. I just want to commend our town manager for finding $500,000 of savings over that time frame.
Well, it's not really $500,000 of savings, because
Or $500,000 of decreased expense.
the expenditure
expenditures.
budget has increased, obviously.
Mhm.
What it has been is prior to you guys hiring me, the way the town used to budget its revenue, right, was basically how much revenue did we make last year, and then that's what we'll budget. So in 2021, 2022, that was reflective of under budgeting revenue, underestimating revenue. And also 2023. But then once we started focusing on the budget and the revenue side of the budget, what that does is that helps to reduce the net assessment from municipalities, because you're expecting more because you actually do get more in
Which is
revenue.
better budgeting.
That's right. But as you get closer and closer to revenue, as you get closer and closer to actual revenue, that puts a real strain on your fund balance, your unassigned fund balance, because, or your budgeted use of unassigned fund balance. Because what we've been doing is we've been working to make sure that the unassigned fund balance is basically at that midpoint where we want it. So I just want to point this out.
Yeah. I mean, this goes to the point of our, if you can leave this up, the point of our discussion here on these expenses is that like we're squeezing such a small portion of our budget to make up for such a large increase. And I think we about hit the bottom of that. And if we want to look at this, it's like as the county and the school have proportionally increased, we are doing a really good job. And unfortunately, we're just dealing with expenses that are outside of our control.
This is also why when you asked me earlier, do I think $500,000 budgeted use of fund balance is, right, or could be more? I'm very cautious about, you guys using more than 300,000 really, because the revenue side has now been budgeted to be closer to what it will actually be. Before, it was fine to be kind of willy-nilly because you were essentially under budgeting revenue and raising all that in
Well,
taxes.
that's where
But that's also why your fund balance grew, right?
Yeah.
So now that the budgeting, especially on the revenue side, has gotten tighter,
So
you don't have much wiggle room with your unassigned, your budgeted use of fund balance.
So your suggestion would be, because earlier you said your suggestion would be to do $300,000.
Correct.
Well, we could get to that because right now we're adjusting the budget
No, I
as
know, I just
amended,
wanna-
but we can then take a look at. We could if before we go we could
I just
halt
wanted to
that
clarify
motion
that
and have a
was-
discussion around the fund
I
balance.
know, I just wanted to
Okay.
clarify that was the suggestion.
Sorry. Sorry.
Mark, can you sort of explain to them, once they're in that sweet spot, that you wanna keep it there, and then any surplus you have from that budget year, you can use
Correct.
for the next, can you explain how that works, so they?
Right, so I mean, you're just trying to keep something, on target, right? You have a range that you're trying to keep something on target. Once you guys have been above that target, so we, over the last couple of years, the town has slowly been bringing it back into that target range. Once you get in that target range, you want to keep it there. The only reason why it will go rise back up or go below, it'll rise back up because you have an actual surplus, or it'll rise below, or it'll go below because you have an actual deficit. Now, you're gonna have an actual deficit. When you're in the sweet spot, you're generally budgeting, you're always budgeting, or you should be budgeting, all of your total revenues equaling your total expenditures, right? And that's not, the budgeted use of fund balance is simply, we're budgeting $500,000 less in revenue than what we expect to budget in expenditure, or that we're budgeting expenditures. And so while people will say, oh, well, that's a balanced budget. No, it's not a balanced budget. You're budgeting a deficit. And it's critical to understand that that's a deficit that you're budgeting. And the deficit comes out of your equity, right? Comes out of the town's fund balance. So once you're in where you want your equity to be, your fund balance to be, you don't budget any deficit. You budget all of these expenditures are going to be paid for by these non-tax revenues and tax revenue, and that's it. Okay. And then the only time you would have a deficit is because you can't go over your expenditures, would be because you had a special town meeting that called for, oh, well, we had this emergency that we needed to pull money out of, or we budgeted more revenue than we're actually realizing. And then that can happen, particularly in a time where, well, we didn't expect that the general economy was going to go south, and people are not registering as many cars, they're not building building new houses, so we're not generating that revenue that we would normally generate. And then state revenue sharing could also be affected by broader economic, by the broader economy, right? So I just wanted to kind of point out that that's how you do it.
Right.
When you have a year where you actually have, meaning an actual year where you have an actual surplus, then that subsequent year, you can use that surplus to bring it back down, right?
Mhm.
That's how it should be done. What happens is most people, because they're thinking, oh, well, we just always have a budgeted use of fund balance. Well, no, you shouldn't, not if you're budgeting correctly, right? You should have a budgeted use of fund balance when you actually have a surplus to get you back into that range, okay?
So like next year, they're not gonna have that 500,000 to
Right,
use, so I think you're,
If you come in exactly on budget.
right,
Yeah,
if you do, right.
Okay.
So for all intent and purposes, you're almost starting at a 5% tax levy before you even start the budget. Is that kind of sort of?
yeah, 500,000 is,
Because it's about 100,000 per percent,
Yeah,
right?
right.
So before we even start budgeting next year, you already got a 5% tax levy.
Yeah.
So if we were to lower it to 300, what would the,
that increases it a lot, right?
Increases it
So
2%.
you'll be at 15.5 or close, watch, he'll do it right here for you.
So you'd be at 15.8%. Right? So I mean, you can do it, just recognize that it's, you're kicking the can down the road, and eventually there's absolutely no way you can do it, right? Because you'll just have, the whole point of having an unassigned fund balance is so that you can have financial flexibility. It helps you to make sure that you don't have cash flow issues, so that you can pay your employees and your vendors. It's also in the case of emergencies that, all of a sudden we need to be able to draw money out. I dealt with schools that when during COVID, that because the state statutes had required schools to be, I think at the time, it was either 3% or 5%, right? They couldn't have an unassigned fund balance more than 5% of their expenditures. Well, that's ridiculously low. I mean, the 2 to 3 months is between 16.7% and 25%. So when COVID hit, and they had, well, you can have all these grants that can pay for all of these additional expenditures. Well, yeah, that's nice. They're reimbursement grants. So I had a couple of clients where they're going out to try to buy these huge things, but then they have no cash flow because they couldn't make their payroll because they went to buy this and it took 3-4 months before this federal government reimbursed. That's an example of the financial flexibility that a healthy unassigned fund balance gives you, right? So you don't want to go, at some point you're gonna get way too low, right?
You have a lot more cash that you can manage from a cash flow perspective if you have that fund balance available, because you can carry expenses like in those examples.
Correct. Right. And I mean, ultimately, your cash includes the reserves, so you could internally borrow, provided you get permission from the townspeople to do that. If you wanted to carry a lower fund balance, or if you got into a situation like that, you're not really, you can't really borrow internally without getting permission from the townspeople first. And I do know a lot of municipalities that they don't really know that, and they do it accidentally or they do it unintentionally.
So I know we're really stretching the discussion on this motion, but my question would be is, what is our overall balance in our unassigned fund balance?
And that's what that last page was. It's a projection. So I take, so for the current fiscal year,
And I'm saying like, it's in a scenario where we're using zero, so that $500,000 that's currently budgeted,
yeah.
including that amount.
So we're projecting to end this fiscal year at 3.1 million. And that's based off of current activity through the year. So that $16 million projected expenditures takes what have you had through, that's through February, and extrapolate it through the rest of the year.
3.1 million.
So 3.1 would be your unassigned fund balance going into FY27. If you budgeted to use $500,000 and it actually occurred, meaning you actually used 500,000, you would end up going into FY28 with a fund balance of only 2.6 million, right?
And what is I'm trying to recall, your recommended bottom there is 2 months of 2.1.
2 months to 3 months is the range that you want to have it. The bottom end, 2 months worth of expenditures is roughly 2.1 million. So you would be already close.
So if we take 500,000 out, we're about 500,000 budgeted away from the very bottom of that.
Right.
And that's just managing cash flow, not managing scenarios like what you just talked about.
Yeah.
All right. So the reason I'm okay with 500,000, and is because I think we'll pick up a little bit of taxable valuation this year, which whenever that happens, we end up having more revenue than expected, and that's why in the past, when we've budgeted to use, 400,000 worth of the fund balance, we end up using a little bit less of it. And so this is the riskiest decision. I don't like taking risk, but the riskiest decision I feel like I'm behind on this is to use that 500,000 in the hopes that the increased valuation provides offsets enough that we really only end up using in the upper $300,000 of the fund balance. And that's why I'm okay with the 500,000.
And if everything goes to hell in a handbasket, we could go to the town and say, everything went to hell in a handbasket. We need to take $500,000 out of fire, whatever. I mean, that
We
money
would
is
borrow
there.
it internally.
Correct. So the
Yeah.
legislative body could choose to unrestrict or uncommit those reserves.
So that's another, we have a lot of money in that. I not want to use it.
Yeah, but to that example is like if there was a new, not that I would expect this, but if there's a new federal grant opportunity because there's a nuclear war or something, we say, well, we don't have enough money to leverage for those grant funds. We could come have a special town meeting and say, hey, can we borrow from capital reserves, $1 million, knowing that we're going to get a $3 million match, and then we'll backfill that and then use the grant money. So there is some flexibility
Yeah,
there.
we wouldn't want to do it next year to call taxes down necessarily, but
No.
if it went to hell in a handbasket and we needed it, it's there.
And part of the reason why would be an advocate of using this is because this fund balance and our spending down of it is what's been allowing us to mitigate the pain from that other chart that we just had up there of the municipality being on the downside and the county and the school going up. And when I know, comparing other towns doesn't always help, but I go to all our GP-COG meetings, and in the last 5 years, when we've been dealing with 3% or less of a annual adjustment to our municipal tax rate, all of the surrounding communities have been during that same time frame, 7, 12, 15% at the same time. So we have been keeping it super lean. And now as our fund balance goes away, we're seeing the reality of what other towns have been exposed to regionally. And it's a tough pill to swallow. It sucks, but it's not, it's just the reality of the situation, So I think we beat that dead horse in terms of the discussion on the motion, which was to accept the budget as amended. Is there any other questions? All right, all in favor? Any opposition? Passes 4-1. So we'll have all these documents prepared and sent over as amended to the budget committee. I think that I was bummed to see them miss this portion of the meeting where you talked about that percentage breakdown. That'd be useful to send over to them as well. They asked also, their questions are going to be included. They've asked for a report on the call volume from public safety, which is going to be included. EMS and fire calls, sorry.
But you sent that to them,
Yeah,
right?
I'm sending it to them tomorrow after we, And then they also asked for financial statements as of March 31st.
Financial statement.
Like the whatever.
The reconciliation.
I'm not gonna have that by Thursday.
Well, and I told them that doesn't get done until partway through the following month, so they understand the turnaround time. And they also asked for
I mean, they have the month through February, so.
one second. They also asked, they want a copy of the budget FY26 report, budget report ending March 31st, which I told them would take time to get a copy of the code enforcement officer's report and a copy of the year-to-date fire and EMS. So that will be included as part of this document that we give them as well. So, budget committee is going to be back in on the 28th after they have their meetings. First, they have chose not to record in their meetings and not to take notes or provide notes to anyone at the town this year. So there's no way for us to know what they're talking about or what they're doing without attending. And so that is new, but it is what it is. I like that we maintain a higher degree of transparency with our voters than they do. And so I'm going to try to attend some of those meetings just to be an observer, but I can't make any guarantees. And if folks want to attend, I would recommend they do so, but when we attend those, we're not there to answer any questions, we're there to allow them to act independently. Alrighty. The other thing I wanted to note real quick, and again, I'm bummed that the folks from the budget committee had left, is there's been a little bit of miscommunication. Budget committee members have been telling members of the community that the select board's not participating in the county budget process because the budget committee members are saying that the select board has 2 seats that we can fill on the county's budget committee. We do not have 2 seats that we can fill on the county's budget committee. Those are elected positions, and so we are not skimping on any opportunity to adjust the county budget in an official capacity.
But maybe we should try.
So if someone wants to run for one of those positions,
They're actually
anyone,
elected.
so it's elected, there's like 7 districts and we're in a district that shares seats with parts of Lewiston and I think Green,
Western, Eastern
and
Lewiston. and
Wales or
us.
yeah, and there's 2 positions. One of them has to be filled by a sorry. One of them has to be filled by a municipal official within that district. So one of us could run for that if there was a vacancy, and then the other one is a at-large person, so they don't have to be anything. But the communication from the budget committee was that we have 2 positions assigned to us that we're choosing not to participate in, which is categorically false. And I just wanted to address that in case anyone else new on the board had heard that and wasn't aware. So, all right. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you, Mark.
Good job.
You might need to get like an apartment in
And
Durham
thank you,
or
Jerry.
something like
Thank
that.
you, Jerry.
Thank you, Jerry, as well.
Thank you guys.
And
Thank you.
the department heads.
Just send
Thank
that.
you.
Yeah, till it's-
Yeah, I'll send that to you. Yep.
Alrighty.
Is that gentleman from the RSU, whatever, 10?
No,
You just had nothing else to do then?
actually running for the state senate.
Oh,
I figured I'd come down here and listen to your budget.
perfect. Thank you.
You actually stayed.
Yes, well, we appreciate it. Try to make it entertaining. So, all right. So we have just a couple items. So you're in the finish line here for our meeting. We're gonna do a review and discuss. Oh, the other thing I should real quick add on the budget element. I've been serving on the GP-COG budget task force, and we're working on recommended legislation to bring to Augusta as part of the Augusta's property tax force work that's going on right now to discuss ways to relieve pressure on local municipalities from the property tax bills. And one of the recommendations that's being worked on right now is to give counties the opportunity to levy a 1% tax on expenditures within the county. It's called a local use tax. And so that's just one of the recommendations that is being considered. And in the model that's being developed right now, in counties like Androscoggin County, where you have large producers of retail transactions like Lewiston and Auburn, 65% of what they generate would stay in their town. 35% would go to other towns within the county to help offset expenses for for budgets. The current model at 1% and with 35% being shared would potentially bring in $350,000 to Durham should the county vote and decide to go that route. Not necessarily saying that that's a guarantee to happen or anything like that, but just want to let you know that that's one thing that the committee is discussing. And there's also a lot of pressure on Augusta right now to find mechanisms to increase the percentage at which the school pays. So that, like, Mark told us, 55% is not happening. I think 44% of our town's responsibilities is covered by the state, so it's not meeting that 55% goal. And when you look at towns like Freeport, it's almost nothing. So not that this is a solution, but just want to let you know that there's a lot of folks working on this topic right now, and I'm trying to raise our voice in the GP-COG group. So, all right, review and discuss pay-as-you-throw retail. Jerry, what do you got for us here?
So yeah, I put this together, for you guys to just review and
Yeah,
discuss.
looks good.
This is where where you can purchase your pay-as-you-throw bags.
Okay.
Is there a discussion about Walmart in Brunswick and or Auburn Market Basket and Thompson or Post Street Market in Freeport?
I haven't seen any there when I
missed
do my
one.
shop, so I don't know, there hasn't been. I don't know how many stores you actually want.
I just know that a lot of people that I talk to like to go to Market Basket.
I can check with them.
Yeah.
I
which
think
is
we should
fine,
check on
Market
Market
Basket,
But
Basket.
just
yeah.
keep
In
in
Walmart,
mind,
they
there's
don't
gonna
have
be
it.
a get and go
No,
too.
I understand.
And online, but so I do think Market Basket is important.
And they sell them online?
He said that
They
they
do.
can sell them online. Yep.
Mhm.
Okay.
You can order Durham, so that's good. I know that he said Hannaford is easy for them because they work with Hannaford's parent company throughout New England. But I would like to see us look at the Market Basket too.
Yeah, me too.
Okay.
And these are
anybody
all,
else?
everything on here, Jerry, is a go? Get
Yeah,
and
they
go?
just wanna know what realtors they want us to go
Mhm.
to.
Can we
Okay.
tell them these are a go and then worry about Market Basket and others later while they're
Yeah,
negotiating?
I like that.
Well,
So,
we-
yes, and
We
kind of
still have time, so if you tell me the other places that you would like to go, I will call them and say, hey, can we also do these?
Oh, you're
So-
doing you calling,
Yeah, I do all
pay
the
as you throw.
administration, yeah.
Okay, yeah. So I would like. So are we all good with this list? Like, we don't want to take anything off here, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So does anyone have any additional requests for locations they would like to add? I would say Market Basket in Dobson.
Right.
Josh, did you have?
And online?
Yes.
Well, online is direct from them. That's what.
Was it or was
said.
it Amazon?
He said. I thought he said it was direct from
I
them.
thought it was
Was it?
direct, yeah.
Either way, let's confirm what the online option is.
Oh, yeah, I'll definitely check it
And
out.
what, should we check with Bow Street Market too?
I was just,
I don't-
we,
Do
The-
they have them?
they're Hannaford.
They're
that's
I
true.
call it the bougie Hannaford.
It is the bougie
But
Hannaford.
they have great, I mean,
Never
I like to
seen
go
that.
for their meats when I'm not in Lewiston.
All right. So
You should check with them, I think.
Bow Street Market.
I think we should go to the Get and Go as much as possible, cause that, is a local business to
Local,
us,
yeah.
but. You know,
Agreed, but is there any else? We're adding Market Basket and Tops. I'm adding online.
With that
Bow
list.
Street Market. Is there anything else anyone wanted to add?
Looks good.
How easy is it to add on as this takes place?
I don't know, I gotta call them.
Okay,
I don't know what the is to that.
I'm sure we're gonna hear.
There's no way we will offer them every place people want.
Of course.
So
I think
that's
this-
just
this
not
is a
gonna
wonderful
happen.
start.
Yeah.
Should we
But
mention that the bags are a good place to
Yeah.
advertise?
Yeah, we can't offer them at the dollar store if they cost more than $1, Kelvin.
Can we mention that the bags are a good place to advertise if you're
I
running for
like
office?
that idea. Yeah.
I don't know.
All right, let's add yeah, gosh, I can't even imagine the comment section there. It's a full-time job right now. All right, this looks good to me. Plus those additions, Jerry. So Market Basket online and Bow Street Market.
I
So
don't
Josh
know.
can get his
I don't know that Bow Street-
salami and his
I don't-
prosciutto all at the
Moving on.
same time. All righty.
It's a lot of places, I'll tell you that.
Mhm.
Well, Bow Street is associated with Hannaford, so that should be an
That should be-
easier
that-
add.
That's why I thought of Bow Street. I don't.
Oh, actually what, Hannaford in Cook's Corner. Cause they do have it. They have it with Brunswick, or the Brunswick regular ones.
Yeah,
They also
Brunswick's a
have-
two Hannaford town.
That
I
is,
forgot about
yeah.
that.
I mean,
you
you
want-
could also add the Shaws in Brunswick too, if you want, also in Cook's Corner, but I don't know if you want to go there.
You tell me what you want and. I'll put
What'll
it down,
BIW
right?
employees drive by? If they're when you're coming back from Durham.
Thousand Fairmont.
Okay.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
So it's the Shaws in Brunswick or the Shaws in Bath?
I think this is a good start
Go to Get and
with
Go.
those. Yeah.
Right, I mean, they're right. there,
Yeah, yeah.
right?
I think that's a
So
good
it's like,
start.
I mean, you
But
could-
to be fair, there are people that live on the other side, this side of town that don't go that way,
Go to Shaw's and
So they
Freeport.
go to Shaw's and Freeport.
or
Or they
or
get-
Hannaford,
All right, let's
Brunswick,
move
and
on.
Market Basket. So I think it's a good list. I just thought Market Basket because I actually talked to somebody yesterday who wants to go there, and Bow Street because it's connected to Hannaford, so it should be
Perfect.
fairly easy.
I'll see what.
Alrighty.
they say.
But
So review and sign Regional School Unit 5 and Region 10 warrant and notice of elections. So that's just a signature from us, not really anything to discuss, correct? All right. We could just, why isn't that, we could just, that been a consent agenda, oh well. All right, so I move that we sign all of the Regional School Unit number 5 and Regional 10 warrants and notice of election.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposition? Seeing none. Manager report?
Yeah, all right, thank you, Chairman. So a couple things. So there's a public works position available right now. We had somebody leave. So in the process of filling it, and we'll be updated when we do. Okay. So we've interviewed for administrative assistant, have offered a position. We'll follow up when the position is filled. Don't necessarily know if they're gonna take it. We interviewed them at Public Works, because the town office is too small, so I wanna give them the tour and have them see their space, because
Mhm.
environment is important to people.
Mhm.
It's, I don't want them to go in and think, oh my goodness, this isn't what I expected, so.
Mhm.
But I assume it will go fine. So GP cog is doing their sub-regional meetings. Josh, you went to it last time. And that's scheduled for April 29th from 5:30 to 7:30, and it will be held in North Yarmouth at the West Gostigo Hall. So I'll be going.
Sorry, what was the rural? Can you repeat that again? Put it in my count.
It's the GP cog sub-regional meeting.
Yeah,
It'll be on April 29th.
okay.
I think that's a Wednesday.
Yep.
Mhm.
From 5:30 to 7:30, and it'll be in North Yarmouth at the West Costigo Hall.
Mhm.
It's kind of weird, so.
Did you want representation from us there?
Well, it's up to you. I mean, the more the merrier. I always go, and I think
Mhm.
there's always something to
Yeah.
learn from it, or at least misery likes company, so we kind of all share
Yeah.
the same.
It-
And you get to like hear.
They
other
get snacks?
Well,
we
sometimes.
heard the interesting, the comments.
Yeah.
I mean, it was.
So I can't make it, but I think it would be great if somebody else wanted to go with Jerry.
You can, if you wanna go with me or we can meet there, whatever, but there it is, so it's up to you. Like I said, I'll go.
He says the 29th.
It's the 29th. Yeah. And then other than that, I'll be on vacation from 4/19 to the week of 4/19. I'll be back on the 27th. And I'll be out of state, so,
Okay. Perfect.
so that's all I got, I guess. Do we have anything else?
All right.
Okay.
Sounds good. Board member reports. I'm the one's gonna have nothing. Josh.
The chief left, so I was gonna ask if we could really invest in him plowing.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on.
Okay.
Deb.
Oh, my
Um,
goodness.
I'm sorry. I'm gonna lie. I will say one thing. So for those who are new on the board, budget time is always a point of stress and contention because there's no easy way to say we're going to have to, take money from people as part of the process. And so there can be very, emotional and very charged social commentary that happens amongst social forums, and I would just encourage people to remember we're here with a dedicated purpose, and we got to stay true to purpose, and have thick skin, and know that sometimes people are commenting, not knowing that you're going to see them, and it's just we got to remain professional and attentive, and let these things roll over us. Unfortunately, it's just kind of the day and age we live in, and if you're feeling really stressed about any negative feedback you're receiving or need a vent, you always know how to get a hold of me. And I luckily have rhino skin, so it kind of doesn't bother me as much, but maybe I'm just calloused, but I know it's a new process for folks. So, all right, Rebecca.
I would like for all of the select board members to have an email signature that includes the website address and the text message link. I've started doing it. I've implemented it on my phone and on the regular email. I can share
Good
that with
idea.
If
everybody.
you can share that, that'd be awesome.
Yes, I would I think that it's very important for all of us to have that.
Do we do it or does it done central?
You do it.
You
Devin.
set it
Yourself.
up, you set it up in
Yeah,
your
you can
properties.
it sets up automatic after you put it in.
So
If
you
you haven't
have
done it
to
before,
send it.
I know
I
Devin
can send it.
can show.
I will send
The
the
ins-
boilerplate that I've
Yes.
created.
Perfect. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you, Rebecca. I think it's a good idea.
Yeah, good idea.
You too.
No.
Majority need to have it.
Yeah.
He needs to have it.
John, you got anything?
No.
Perfect. All right. Do I have a motion to approve consent agenda?
So moved.
Oh boy, I think John got that one. Josh, do you want the second?
Sure.
All right. All in favor? Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposition? Seeing none.
I
Motion.
had to make the motion that actually passed tonight.
Hey, you know, win some, we lose some. You can always make the motion to adjourn.
You had one.
I did make a
Um,
motion to adjourn.
Yeah, a motion to adjourn has been made by Josh. John, sorry. Do I have a
You
second?
don't wanna read the meeting, upcoming meetings?
Yeah, I'll read the
Okay.
update. Automated trash pickup begins April 15th. If you have questions, you can email me. Town office is closed Monday, April 20th for Patriots Day. Budget committee's meeting April 20th at the fire station. Conservation committee meeting is April 22nd at the Eureka Center. Budget committee meeting is April 22nd at the Eureka Center. Select board's meeting April 28th. That will be a joint meeting with the budget committee here at the fire station at 6:30. That's the end of the story, so you're gonna want to be here for that one too. So we do have a motion to adjourn from John. Do we have a second?
Sure.
All right. On any discussion? All in favor? Any opposition? Seeing none. And executive session, none needed. We already did that. We're done. Lots of signatures.
Thank you.